Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the Apex Online Racing Touring Car Championship. It's been a great season so far. We've come through Brands Hatch and Le Mans Bugatti. Memorably, we were at Mugello just last time out. Plenty of overtaking there. Hopefully we're going to keep that spree going here at Laguna Seca. My name's Alie Tacq. It's a pleasure to have you along this evening. And I'm joined in the commentary booth by my good buddy, Mellish. How you doing, man? How's it going? How are you looking forward to Le Mans? Not Le Mans, the other one, Laguna.
I'm looking very well, thank you. No, let's go with the original
Let's
question.
stick on
I'm very looking forward to Le Mans. Yeah, who cares about Laguna? I'm joking. No, fantastic to be here. It's one of the first times I've actually seen it sunny here. We usually get this kind of cloudy variant, so it's going to be nice and bright here today. Don't want to miss any of the action. Hopefully we're going to see more than just one Aerox boy pop up today. Vane was holding the fort for the Aerox boys last week at Mugello Club Circuit, but hopefully today we're going to see his partners Bokit and Ridge. See if they can bring that back up. They have got a drop round, of course. Every team, every individual driver has a drop round, but once you use that lifeline, you get no more. So they're really going to have to pull out all the stops here today and bring home the best results.
Well, plenty of technicalities to the championship and plenty of ways in which the drivers can lose it. Only really one way to win it, though, and that's to racking up those top podium positions. Mitch has been doing a great job so far this championship, and we'll take a real close look later on after qualifying at how everyone's season's been going. We'll have a look at the championship standings. But now we're getting ready for the qualifying session. Mellish, I mean, Laguna Seca, not an easy track to get right in a high-pressure qualifying situation.
I think any of the tracks that these guys have got to race on this calendar, none of them have an easy qualifying time, because it's not so much where you're driving, is how much time you will be driving. You only get 4 laps. You know, it is really cutthroat. One mistake, one cock up, and some of these tracks have very, you know, they're tailored in a way that they have such very difficult final sectors. You know, with the split sectors, you get it wrong going into the final 2 turns, you get that dirty. It's going to dirty your next lap, but you really need to be on the edge to get those maximum times, especially using all the curb going into the final straight. It is absolutely essential, but you can just edge it over a little bit too much and get that dirty lap. So for me, it's not where you're driving, it's how long you'll be driving, and I think these guys have got their work really cut out for them here at Laguna Seca.
So lots of places where you need to extend the track and be pretty aggressive with the track limits here. Is this going to be a marshalling nightmare then?
Well, I believe that I thought that there would be more marshalling nightmares that have come along so far in the series, but there's not been that many really. We've not seen punishments, we've not seen marshals, sticking their thumbs down like Julie Caesar at the drivers. We've not seen any of that, so I don't think here it's going to be any different really for marshalling. It's just going to be, if you find yourself in an awkward position, if you push it a little bit too much, you can find yourself maybe not in lobby A. That's the real downside to all of this, is just not being able to maximize, get that banking lap in early, and then set your sights on bigger targets.
That's exactly it. We're just sitting here on board with Tactical HD1. Somebody's going to be hoping to get his banking lap in early. You have to set a strong, get out there, set a lap time that maybe isn't your fastest, but is a strong thing that you can work from. That's what we mean by a banking lap. Tactical, well, he'll just be warming up right now, I should say. All the drivers will be. It's a tricky track, this. I think the first sector, I was very surprised. Before I really knew Laguna Seca, everyone is aware of the corkscrew and that famous, world-famous corner. But there's not a lot that can prepare you really for the first sector here. It's very flat, and the car really suffers from understeer a lot throughout the whole of that sector. It's a difficult place to get right.
No, absolutely, and there's many different factors that will be, that will affect your first sector. What car you're driving. I think Tactical in the Chevy Cruze, we know that's a point-and-shoot car. It has itself off the line, but it struggles, and it is really a defensive battle there on in after the initial get off the line. The Honda Civic, again, a great car, but I really think the car that's going to excel here the most is going to be the RS3 and the Audi S3, because these are sweeping bends. Maybe we will see our first Mercedes, I think C-Class or A-Class, one of those, the hot hatch. Hopefully we're going to see our first one of those make its debut into Lobby A today, because that is a perfect car for around here. It's all about how much momentum you can keep through the corners, and Andretti hairpin is such a very difficult turns 1, turns 2. You have to use the curbs, but you can't use them too much. because then that'll dirt your lap and you're going to have to start all over again. Got to be careful, Alie. There are limitations to Laguna Seca.
Well, we're just going to take a look at the standings as the drivers come through and finish their warm-up laps. LSEM Turbo, fastest warm-up lap out there. I guess that won't hold, but LSEM Turbo, somebody we were talking about a lot last time out. Race winner in the reverse grid race in Lobby A. A first-time win and really a first-time presence for Turbo. He's been a bit of a dark horse on that in that Lobby A.
No, absolutely. I know this is no disrespect to Turbo, but I do definitely see him as maybe a support act to an A-class band that you would see, maybe. But he really pulled it out there. He took the stage and he absolutely dominated. He managed to hold off Tactical, who we're on board with right now, in the last stage of that race, and really deserved that race win. I hope we can see more of that. But where was he for the first 2 races, Alie? He certainly wasn't in the front, and that just kind of pays dividends to the difficulty of making it, not just making it into Lobby A, but racing in Lobby A. It's very difficult to go from back to front. We know this, we've seen this many times, the reverse grid. Mitch has had some lucky strikes, he's got all the way to 4th, but sometimes he just hasn't. The guys like Commando and Mitch are struggling at Magellan to make their way through that pack. So, where you start is crucial as to what you're going to be doing in that race.
Yeah, and keep in mind that this is it's very relevant for what we're seeing right now, because the reverse grid isn't set from the end of race 2 or the end of race 1. It's actually set from the reverse of the qualifying performance of the drivers. So what we're seeing right now, the better you do here, the more difficult a job you have to do at the end of the day.
No, exactly. And for me, I'm expecting to see an Audi podium here. I really am. I'm not going to beat about the bush around it. I think Tactical, I hope he does well, but I feel like he's going to struggle in that Chevy Cruze. The word is on the grapevine that his teammate Jota Commando of the Remus Racing team here in the Chevy Cruze not out here tonight. So Commando already lost points in the first round. He didn't attend the first round, so he's already used his lifeline. If we don't see me here tonight, his team with Tactical is going to lose a whole bunch of points, and that is really going to make a dent in their championship bid. I think we're going to see the whole Williams esports team. They haven't missed a round so far. I think that's about to change, though, with recent events going on in the Forza community. They might be losing a couple of rounds, and I think this really opens the door and paves the way for the AOR Motorsport team in the Audi. I really do, Alie.
Yeah, AOR's had a good season so far. They weren't necessarily around so much at Mugello last week. We didn't see Bokit and Vane come out, but actually we did see Vane, of course. Didn't see Bokit or Ridge out there that day. Tough to see for those guys, but they'll be able to make it up later in the championship, of course. We're on board right now with Williams 7, though. 7's had a lot of second positions in qualifying so far, and he's looking like he's sort of spoiling for another one. 7 taking the pole position with that previous lap from his teammate Williams Mitch, though. So this could be a first time for him. This could be a first time at the front of the grid. Nice to see.
I mean, I think that would really break that confidence barrier. I mean, maybe it's confidence. I think it's just, we talked about this before, it's his vulnerability on track. He sometimes puts himself in difficult positions, or sometimes he just ends up in difficult positions. Either way, he's in a difficult position, and it's never a good position to be in when you're trying to make, leaps and bounds in terms of pace. I think that it would be really beneficial for him if he can pip his teammate Mitch. But he's got a lot of work to do. Bokit there, just pipping his teammate Mitch actually into second place. Seeing a lot of high 28s. High 28, look at that. 3 people in the .9s. We've got Roadrunner yet to break that barrier. He's 4 tenths off with Aerox Spain really. Oh, it's Williams and Aerox. Look at that. I love it. Williams and Aerox top 4. Is it going to change? Roadrunner really has only got maybe a last couple of laps to put down a really strong performance, really strong lap time. He's got to shave off 4 tenths here, Alie, I think, if he wants to make any kind of success in Lobby A.
He's had a great season, starting from sort of mid-pack or toward the back pack in Lobby A and fighting his way forward. Roadrunner never on someone you can sort of write off after a qualifying performance. He's always able to keep his head in the game and keep moving forward. 7 there coming through. Well, there you go. Williams Roadrunner taking the provisional pole position, at least in this lobby, at the end of that lap. So yeah, shutting all our mouths. Good to see right at the top of that table. So Williams 7 down to second place again. He won't be happy with that at all. Mitch, somebody who's had 3 pole positions in the 3 rounds we've previously had in this championship. Alie back in 4th place.
Yeah, you say that, Alie, but we're on lap 5 of 5. This is the last lap, and you should see him reeling in Tactical. Of course, it's ghosted. They're not going to get in each other's way, but That Honda Civic of Mitch is absolutely flying. He's using the sand going up towards the corkscrew. I think this is the lap, Ali. He's going to put something spectacular in here. We might see these guys reaching into those 0.8s, maybe even 0.7s. I don't want to put a commentator's curse on anybody, but Mitch is a man to do it. How many times have we seen Mitch lead the qualification rounds? He's always been at the front of the pack. He's always been on the first 2 rows of the grid. Been nice to see Roadrunner break that bubble along with 7, but Mitch needs to pull something out of the bag here.
All right, we'll be watching the right-hand side of the screen as he comes through the final corner. The vision is a little bit delayed, but across the line, Mitch goes and that's pole position. We're going to see him take that right there on the final lap. There's a few more cars to come across the line yet, but they're going to need to improve in order to take that back from Mitch, who had something up his sleeve in the end. So that was a tasty time and put in just at the right moment, crushing a few dreams there, I think.
Like I said, he did. Honestly, I believe I should give myself praise. I really do. I just see things that before this happened, I know. I said, like, we're going to see a 0.8, maybe even a 0.7. You just get into the 0.7s there. Like I say, or like you just said, I don't think anyone's going to beat that. And we're seeing the cream of the crop here. I don't think we've seen all the Aerox boys are in here. So we've got really the cream of the crop. There are a few people that we're missing here. Great job from Turbo, in actual fact. He was on a 0.3 for the longest time, but so was Roadrunner. He just couldn't break that 28 barrier. That 29.3, you've got to think that's going to set you steady for the back of Lobby A at the very least.
Yeah, pretty nice time that. Everyone in this lobby, as you say, very fast, quite a pacey lobby. May well be that we've just seen the pole position time get set, especially if the previous weeks are anything to go by. Mitch there, well, maybe making it 4 for 4. That'd be impressive. That'd be an impressive record, really, across this season for the young driver. He's come out. He hasn't, we've spoken about it a few times, but he hasn't won a TCC yet. It's a bit of a rite of passage for a lot of drivers to take one of these championships, and well, he's just looking so strong for this one.
Yeah, you don't get the prestige or the honours from an FRC when you come and do TCC Community League racing, but it's not easy to get. And just because there's no monetary value does not mean it's very difficult to obtain. It is very difficult to obtain. And I think that having a TCC championship underneath your belt, is a rite of passage, Ali. It's kind of like a Hall of Fame kind of thing. It opens you up into the world of respect from the other drivers. It's not something that everyone can do. I'm pretty sure Roadrunner will say that he finds it very difficult to drive front-wheel drive cars. He's done immensely well so far this season, and I think this has been a massive learning curve for him. But it's also what a teammate to have. The guy that's been pipping qualification times left, right, and centre, and really has only had Jota Commando, challenging him for that top spot on the grid every single week. And because he's not here, I think this is guaranteed for Mitch to take that first spot.
That's big words. Big words. So the only person who can beat Mitch is Commando. Is that what you're saying?
So far. Well, you prove me wrong. Apart from reverse grids, Ali, that's not allowed.
Yeah,
apart from reverse grids, who else has beaten Mitch?
Yeah, I hear you. There hasn't been anyone who's given him as much a run as Commando has. Certainly at Bugatti, we saw Commando put a couple of race wins in there, and Mugello, things got very tasty between the two of them indeed.
Tasty.
Actually, tasty is one word for it. I'll tell you what, let's have a little look right now at the highlights from last week's racing at Mugello, and then we can catch up on the championship just after that. These touring cars are always fantastic to watch in this run down to the first corner. A lot of wheel spin up ahead there, and I think Vane's struggling to get off the line. Venom held up as well in his another Civic, bogging down off the start. Look at Commando muscling his way through there, and the outside of Mitch, hanging it in there. And Mitch will be doing everything he can to get that guy back into his wing mirror.
Down the inside into the second to last corner, and Sean is going to give him the room. Sean is going to have to learn quick and learn fast if he wants to stay in this top 10.
Williams Mitch has gotten away with it, took pole position, managed to defend that lead and the run down towards turn 1, and ever since then he's been able to just apply that pace of the Civic onto the surface of the track.
If Commando is forced into a mistake, I think Venom will capitalise on this as well. Like you say, Mitch way ahead. He's going to extend his lead as this battle continues. It's all bump and grind here between second and fourth place.
Sean again placing his car on the apex there, and Roadrunner saying, all right, I'll go all the way around the outside then, that's fine. You go whichever way you like, buddy.
Sean's troubles continue. Tactical up the inside through turn 1 and trying to do a repeat of the move that Roadrunner put on him.
We just had a disconnect from LSCM Turbo. That is absolute tragedy. That was his first shot in Lobby 8.
Aerox Vane now spoiling for the move to second. He's a side-by-side. We've got the best seat in the house, and that's on board with Venom as Vane fights to stay relevant round the outside of turn 2, just so he can put this move on turn 3. Venom's betting on Commando, though, and he goes up the inside of Vane here. That is a very, very insistent move there from Venom. But Vane holding
Keep
him
it going,
off for now.
boys. Keep it going. Oh, he nearly pushes Venom into the sand trap. That was so close to death there for Venom. They're going to go too wide. This is going to be disaster now. Venom's going to have to push wide here, and look where Roadrunner is now. The Civic here. I think we're going to see a slipstream from Roadrunner, and Vane is going to lose 2 spaces in the space of a start-finish straight. Lap 15 to 16. There's only 1 lap, 2 laps remaining, and Roadrunner's looking up the inside now. He switches back behind Venom. And he's going to go the inside, but he breaks late. He breaks late. Can he cover it off? Can he cover it off? He can't cover it off. He cannot cover it off. But he's 3 wide into turn 2. Go on, Roadrunner.
All 3 going up, and that's Vane pinching across the front of Venom. Venom loses out, Roadrunner loses out. Vane round the outside with a double overtake. Very aggressive. Vane in 3rd, and now Venom slips all the way back to 5th.
Lap 16 to 16, if he gets to the inside, surely he can cover him off. Roadrunner going on the race line, leaving the room open. It's just going to go side by side in the Civic. Look how wide he's going. He's on the grass. He's going super wide. He's going to give the room to Venom. Venom's going to make it through, no problems. He slips it through. Roadrunner's going to go back through.
Unbelievable fighting here at the end of race 1. This is the last lap, and Roadrunner with the banzai. So late on the brakes and holds it in. Mitch crosses the line, takes the race win. Well deserved. He's been out there 5 miles with a drag run to the finish. For 4th place between Venom and Roadrunner. It will be Roadrunner in 4th. It will be Venom in 5th. And up ahead, Commando held on to 2nd, with Vane fighting, punching his way up into 3rd. Commando just gets himself a little bit out of grid position there.
Bad start for Venom, really bad start. He dumped the clutch and stalled it. Tactical's already into 4th, and he's looking at the inside of Mitch. He's coming straight through. Is it going to be a Remus racing 1 and 2 again, like it was with Bugatti? What a great job. He's looking up the inside, 3 wide, into turn 1, Alie. Could ask for any better.
Getting bullied there, little Mitch. That Honda Civic suddenly looking very small indeed. It's looked unassailable, race on race on race. Mitch certainly looking a little bit more human.
Vane is getting absolutely ambushed here by Tactical. You picked the wrong person to have a battle with here. Roadrunner has to give room if he keeps his nose in. He definitely does that, but Roadrunner goes wide there, and then he's just going to slam it on the apex there, cover himself off, and get a massive run there as they all bump together. Roadrunner secures 4th at the moment. Ben getting it all wrong though, coming out the last corner at the Jello Club circuit there, hit the grass. Still at the inside of Venom, actually spears into the side of Venom, shunts him wide. The Venom will just have to rescind into that 6th place. Venom keeps positioning himself in the wrong place though. He has no option. He's going right around the outside. What a move there from Venom. That is a great move.
This battle's gone all the way round 1 whole lap now. We're starting the 2nd one with the cars neck and neck once again. It's that Williams 7 I see just perched there, waiting for an opportunity. And 7 up the inside now of Venom. And these 2 going side by side into turn 2. 7 knows what you can do around the outside here. His teammate Roadrunner's proved it already. He's going to make it look very easy indeed in that Civic, or is he? Venom with a beautiful power out of turn 3.
He's on the grass again.
Wow.
He's looking up the inside. He's going to take that easy 7th spot away.
3 positions gone, just in the blink of an eye. Vane looking a little out of sorts. The battle here for the lead.
Oh, what a dive bomb in the Civic. He tries to engine brake it. Commando senses the move. What a great comeback there.
Commando on a defensive line into turn 1. And Mitch is going to try it all the way round the outside. Got a lot of guts trying that move out. I'm not sure it's going to work out for Mitch. Tries it again, exactly the same.
And we're talking 10, we're talking thousands. That's a mistake from Roadrunner. Clips the grass. Venom senses opportunity off the inside.
Wow.
He's doing what Mitch couldn't do on the Commando.
So close, unbelievable from Venom and Roadrunner here. Every lap fighting it out. Venom finally making that move work, making it look convincing, getting up into 4th, and Mitch is going to have to do something other than try it round the outside of turn 1. It's the only thing he's tried so far, round the outside of turn 1, hoping to get the inside at turn 2, and Commando has resisted it every which way but Sunday.
Yeah, but it's worked, team. Doing a fine job. A 3rd and a... Oh, it's going to work.
Unbelievable. Mitch with the move at the final corner, throws it, sends it in there, and takes the lead of this race. It was a real dive one, a real surprise one for Commando, who doesn't, importantly, Commando there didn't have the lead crossing the line. So that's maybe a move that even if Mitch loses out here, he can try and repeat on in the final lap. We're back though to that same old battle around the outside of turn 1, but Mitch just does not seem able to win. Round the last corner now, Mitch back to the scene of the crime, and he's up the inside of Commando. He wants to try it again, and powering out the last corner. It's going to be a drag race for the win. It's going to all be down the gear shifts. Mitch getting into the side of Commando, getting aggressive, he's on the ground. Mitch takes the win, bumping and grinding down the back straight there, and Mitch showing that he wanted it. Crikey! The final race, and the car's getting warmed up. Turbo in third, the driver we're sitting and looking at here, surely somebody we're looking out for, Mesh. Kind of first day out.
I think he's got a really good chance of getting the win for the Lightspeed Endurance Motorsport team.
Blasting his way by. Here we go, though, the run down towards turn 1. It's all green. And LSEM Turbo off to a tasty start there. Insistent in that cruise as Barry gets it sideways, gets into the nose of Tactical, and Turbo is up into the podium.
Tactical looking on the outside, but Barry gives him a tap again. Turbo takes the lead. He's fighting with Matt Gaming there. They both get loose. Matt Gaming loses another position to Barcode.
Bobbing, ducking, weaving, trying to find the Chevy Cruze shaped gap as Matt gets it so wide into turn 1. He's going to get punished for that. 2 cars are through. PMC Alie trying to come through as well. That's 3 positions lost and just 1 tiny mistake.
There is no sight of Commando and no sight of Mitch as they go into lap 6.
Mitch trying to find his way forward up this track. I think it's going to be an uphill battle.
Commando fell short as well. He didn't get the start that he wanted. Must have messed up off the line.
Tactical is sitting in second, looking up the field towards LSEM Turbo. If it was a 5-car length gap when Tactical first got second position some 5 laps ago, it's maybe a 4-car length gap now.
No tarmac available for him to put his Audi on as they go 3 wide. It's Barry looking to make his work as well with Williams. Mitch looking at the inside. Cammy is trying to hold on here. Williams, Roadrunner, and Aerox Vane. Where did Vane come from? He was in 9th just a moment ago. He's up to 5th at the moment.
Monitoring this battle for the lead. Turbo with just a moment, a touch on the gravel there through the second to final turn. Running it a little bit wide the exit over the painted concrete and tapping the gravel. Wasn't enough to disadvantage him too badly, but it was enough just to give pause for thought, give pause. Is Tactical going to try it now?
And he's got 4 corners to do it.
Turbo getting a little bit hard in the defense, taps on the quarter panel there. Tactical held back for now. Turbo, stop it on the apex, break it on the apex, please. Just give him the little bump. Turbo defensive again now into the second to last corner. Tactical looking again, and he's pinched him, touched him. Turbo keeps that lead, scrapping away these 2. He's having to earn this finish. Awesome as he runs to the line.
I think he deserved that just in the way that he recovered there. He speared it through. He got the back end got loose from attack from Tactical, and then he just pushed the accelerator right down to the floor, powered through, and he takes the win here. Great job from LSEM Turbo.
Some incredible racing last time out at Mugello. It was some pretty feisty competition, especially in the end of race 2 there, neck and neck between Mitch and Commando in the run down to the line. And I gotta say, Melish, Mitch was getting his shoulders out. It got him the win of that round, taking the most points coming away from it. But I mean, what does that say to you about Mitch's racecraft there at the end of race number 2?
Well, I would, you know, in an esports environment, I don't think he would have done the same. I think that, you know, the camaraderie between him and Joe Commando may not be, they're not teammates, but they have a good laugh together. They're very good friends, you know, in the Forza community, and I believe that it was all in good fun. Maybe it was misconstrued by the people watching. You know, that's not on. And I get that, but you have to understand that a lot of these people race on a regular basis with each other, and I think that was part and parcel of that action. I have to say though, if we're going to talk about his racecraft, I think it was like dastardly beautiful. It was something that I would have done, and I really can't criticize him for doing it, because I probably would have done the same. So I think if you can get away with it, it's not your job as a driver to think about whether you're going to get penalised or not. It's your job to think about, can I get away with it? You know, did they see that? And if they didn't see that, then it didn't happen. It's not what you believe, it's only what you can prove. So like, If you can get away with it, then great. But unfortunately, if you're having a battle to the last lap, Alie, more chances are you're going to be on stream. So it's probably best not to do it when everyone can see it.
Hey man, too right. Well, you know, at the end of that, with 2 second places for Commando, he only managed to take 4th overall. I say only. The reason I say only is because his teammate Tactical actually outdid Jota Commando last time out. So when you're saying Commando not here this week, and be that as it may, but really the star of the Remus Racing duo, Tactical, who is here this week, well, he's in a pretty good place to hold down the fort after 2nd place last time out.
Yeah, and we talk about how important and how essential it is to get an amazing position on that grid. It really does set the story, but like you can see, Commando with the 2 second places there in 4th place actually couldn't get through the pack. Now we know that Chevy Cruz is a bomb off the line, but he couldn't get it going enough to get through. And it, you know, Mugello's such a tight track, there wasn't a lot of room to make those positions. He wasn't forcing himself on situations like Mitch was on him in the previous race. And I think that's maybe where Commando lacked that succession that Mitch had, and as Mitch has had through the other reverse grids throughout the season so far. So I think for Commando, he's a nice guy, but I think he's got to stop being such a nice guy. I think you've got to throw it in.
Take the gloves off a bit.
Yeah, exactly. We saw Tactical do it at Bugatti circuit, reverse grid, last 2 corners, gain like a bunch of positions, just because he was so aggressive with it. And yeah, if you can get away with it, then gotta do it. You know what I mean? If you can,
then go for it. My last talking point on this slide is RBR Venom. It's someone we didn't see out racing in round 1 or 2. He came out to play at Mugello, and in a way, I kind of expected a little bit more from the Red Bull Racing driver, not somebody who's challenging for wins last time.
Well, this is his first time out, you know. He's got to set the tone, get a feel for the place. You know what I mean? It's like he's just bought a new house, and you know you don't quite know where to put your furniture yet. You know, everything's a bit of a question mark. You know, it's open to interpretation. He hasn't met the other drivers on the field. He would have practiced with his teammates, no problem. Like that's what he would have done. But he didn't practice with all the people that were going to be in the lobby with him, did he? And I don't think he practiced with Williams Roadrunner, because that's who he was battling with the most. You know, him and Vane. So, and once you get stuck in those battles, it's like glue. It just slows you down. It's like trudging through mud. Those guys up front slipstreaming, getting away. You guys are just battling out. It's an absolute slog for, you know, the minimal gains. But those, like you see in the positions and the points you get from those positions, every position is worth the points. You've got to make the positions up. And he was having a massive battle with those 2 guys last week. So I don't think we've seen his race pace. He was absolutely on fire, because I do remember he got in a few incidents and he had to let off. And like, you know, we would get back on board with him, and he'd be straight back up someone's chuff. You know what I mean? He was straight on the back of them again. He was there. The pace was there. It was the room wasn't there, and so he couldn't translate that pace that he had into lap times, and that was simply it.
Well, absolutely, and I mean that's one of the many reasons Venom not in the top 16 when we jump forward to the overall drivers' standings. That's what you can see here on the screen.
Yeah.
Williams Mitch, well in the lead of the championship right now, really starting to look very dominant indeed, especially when you take into account that he's the one who's, you know, been bringing home those fastest laps. He's the one taking home the race wins, and of course the pole positions may well be that we can add another pole position to that tally very shortly indeed. So Mitch looking very strong. His most realistic competitor right now is actually Vane on the championship standings. Aerox Vane, someone who's been around in the first 3 rounds, so been in it to win it, if you like, but also pretty pacey, pretty fast, especially at round 1. Vane looking like he could really challenge Mitch.
Yeah, he's been the most consistent. He's been the most, you know, has 100% attendance so far. He's kind of repping the Aerox boys at the moment. You know, you know, Boki and Rich kind of left him to it. They took their work boots off, took their hard hats off, and just go, you know, you're gonna have to work through your break a little bit. We're off for one. You know, but they've got to come back. They can't do that anymore. They've got to be here for the entire duration of the championship. Yeah, they may have a few reprieves later on in the calendar, but I think that Vane was looking strong. He's made a few questionable moves, and I think that he's brought a bit of sour taste from other drivers. You know, getting involved with him and his how can I put this? His dramatics, maybe. I think he can be a clean driver, and I'd like to see that here at Laguna Seca. There is an opportunity to kind of perform well here, but being clean doesn't necessarily translate into being successful. And I think that Laguna, you're still going to have to be forceful I think Vane actually might make some make positions up here where his teammates are a little bit more preserved, like Ridge. We saw Ridge, he doesn't like to take opportunities when they're not presented to him. I think they might struggle a little bit more, so I think Vane really holding down the fort there for the Aerox boys.
Well, someone else who's been, well, not holding down the fort, but actually just surprising me a huge amount throughout this series has been Sean. Sitting there right now in 5th place in the championship. If you look at the company that Sean's keeping, the drivers around him on that table, he's a name who's really come from nowhere and someone we should be talking about a lot more.
Yeah, I think he's got, for me, it's like linear improvement from him. He gets better every time. He had saying that, he had a disastrous, unfortunate event where he clipped the grass and lost a whole bunch of positions in that reverse grid. But I think that Sean is one of those guys, once that reverse grid happens, like, he can really take advantage of that. He really can. He's kind of like mid to back of the pack at the moment. I think he's just on the verge of breaking that halfway line, getting into that top 8. I think he can do it. He did it. He certainly did it last time. But as we saw last week, he was out with the big boys. He made that great qualifying round, but he got bullied. He really did get bullied from the people behind him. Like,
I mean, that's a fair point. That's a fair point that he got bullied. I mean, you know, I previously thought of him like, yeah, mid-pack, back of the pack in Lobby A. But it was last week when we saw him up there racing, saw him challenging for those top positions. Yeah, getting bullied, ultimately losing out, but taking the experience and moving forward. It was that week where I really started to think, like, wow, this guy, you know, you kind of, I've watched a lot of people race Forza, you know, and you write them off until you don't. Mitch 555, we talk about it a lot, but last time out, 18 months ago, Mitch 555 was the driver who was in that kind of a place. Was kind of like mid-pack to the back of Lobby A, and then every now and again would have this kind of spark of inspiration and get right up there to the top of the stack. And I'm seeing very, very similar performance from Sean. I'm actually really starting to believe it. The longer it goes on, I'm starting to think, wow, this guy really is, he's something special and something that we should watch out for.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that he will blossom in time. Remember, I think he's only 14. I think 14 to 16. But for me right now, he's Sean the sheep. He's a sheep right now.
Right.
And these guys are wolves. Right?
Okay.
And he needs to become Sean the wolf. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's a little lamb, and that just spells vulnerability. You know, if I had Mitch in front of me, I know that if I'm gonna make a move on Mitch, then I need him to make some kind of disastrous mistake, or I need to be super brave to kind of pull. I need like a golden moment. If I see Sean in front of me, I just think it's dinner time. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of other people think as well. You know what I mean? And it's up to him to change that image that represents him in this championship. He's done great in qualifying, but he gets eaten alive in the races. I want to see him take a win. Even if it's in the reverse grid, he needs to establish his dominance. He needs to establish some sort of respect. That's what these drivers go for. If you conform, like Mitch 5, I don't think he had as much respect as he does now. Now that he's Williams Mitch, he's gone through TX3, he's gone through JSR, he's now with Williams Esports, he's been on the podium 3 times in the FRC. He is the guy that has just commanded so much respect from the community, and that's what's given him that position right now in this Touring Car Championship. Sean hasn't done that, and he needs, I'm not saying he's going to be on the same level, but he needs to establish some kind of, this is me, this is who I am. Give me the room, or I'll show you what happens when you don't give me the room. You know, I need to feel that from him. I need that hunger, Alie, I need it.
That hunger and that on-track presence, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree, that's something that he needs to work on. Moving on then from the top 16, we can look at the 17 through 32nd place drivers here at the, well, this is after 3 rounds of the championship, here at the beginning of the 4th round. A little bit of a surprise to see Type R there in 17th place. Type R didn't come out and race with us last time out at Mugello, so it could be that he's thrown in the towel a little bit on this championship, didn't get the results he was looking for in the early rounds. But Melish, you would expect to see Type R higher up in a front-wheel drive specific championship.
Yeah, towards the end of Forza 6, he was one of the most dominant in front-wheel driving. And if you check the leaderboards in Forza GT, if there's a track that the Audi TT goes around, he's usually in the top 10 with it, because it's the only front-wheel drive GT car there is so far in this game. So front-wheel drive's his thing, it's his nature, but I think he's met his match. You know, I think that the competition's a lot tighter. The builds on the cars are so much closer. You know, we're splitting times, we're splitting grid positions by like the length of a horse's head. It's just very tiny. It's minuscule, and he's not been able to have that presence in the top half of the pack of Lobby A. He's been consistent in Lobby A, but he's just not been able to make those moves, especially in the reverse grid. He's had a bit of bad luck, especially Bugatti Circuit got hit by Vane. I think that kind of scuppered his chances in the reverse grid. He's not here I think he's not here tonight either. So RBR Venom, who missed I think the first 2 rounds, is now kind of. I feel like RBR Venom is a teammate with Type R, but I kind of think like he's taking over from Type R. The question remains is whether we're going to see Type R later on in the championship. But if we don't, I think RBR Venom is just kind of taking the reins from him. We don't know that. It's all speculation. I'd like to see them both out there on track. Yeah, I think I'd like to see them both out there on track, Alie. But you know, it remains to be seen.
Well, here's the name. I was going through the stats on these on this championship yesterday and today and this morning. And a name that jumped out at me, one that I've never heard of before, but somebody who set the fastest lap, I think in race 2 or 3 last time out, was someone called Nothel, out there in 29th in this championship, and a name that I just have not heard of at all, but fastest lap, and takes that overall in that race, presumably setting that lap time in Lobby B or maybe Lobby C, I would guess Lobby B, so not someone we had on the broadcast. Is that a name that you're familiar with, Melish, or is that someone new to you as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really know many people on my friends list that have numbers at the end of their name or the end of their gamer tag, and you kind of associate that with default Xbox gamer tags you get. I have to say, it's really impressive. I've never heard of Nothelen. Nothelen sounds better. It sounds Nordic, where Not Helen just sounds kind of basic. But you know,
Not Helen. That kind of that might be it.
Not heard of him. One person we did hear of though is SCT Slipstream. SCT,
sure.
Kind of a team within the Forza shadows. Don't really come out the woodwork that much. Slipstream did a grand job to get out there in Lobby A, Brands Hatch Indy. Don't think we've seen him since, but he won the race. He won the reverse grid, like stole it off Barry in the last couple of corners. We haven't seen him since. I want to see him back there in Lobby A. I think he's got the quality. If he can win a race in Lobby A in a reverse grid, he deserves to be up there. Absolutely, Alie.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought as well. I was kind of knocked out by it, and thought that was a cool little moment. Sad to see FCT this far down the table. I think FCT deserves to be a little bit higher up. One of the top French teams right now. French Forza has had a sort of difficult maybe year or so ever since BAM closed their doors maybe 12 months ago. You don't see a huge amount of French Forza, well, the classic French Forza teams, TX3, and as I said, BAM just there, DTM as well, all teams that are sort of not as present as perhaps they once were. FCT have been taking up that mantle though a little bit, perhaps ESC as well. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of expect more from them, but at the same time, yeah, I guess I've convinced myself in a way that it's a good thing to see them out racing.
No, I actually think you're right, Alie. Ever since the what's the word? The dissolvement, is that a word? The dissolution,
sure,
maybe? I don't know. But yeah, it's basically the end of BAM really kind of had a shift in the presence of French Forza teams. Obviously, BAM being the most predominant, and like you say, TX3. But since TX3 was taken over, a partnership with LDLC, they started to bring in, some top drivers. And I said this on a stream earlier on today. They've got obviously Lightning, Wesley, both finalists.
Yeah. Right.
They've got Billy Sue, also a finalist. They've got 3 finalists there. But they're not French. That's 2 Americans and a Brazilian. Right. That kind of French nature from TX3 is kind of evaporating. They've got another driver that got on contract, Tiltanium.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't even see him in the FRC. So that's kind of shifting. TX3 is coming away from being this kind of all French team. They used to have Venturi, FCT Sam, Paps. We don't see them as much anymore. And I have to agree with you that FCT and ESC are kind of becoming the top French teams, but they just don't have. You know, unfortunately for ESC, they lost Chris to Aerox. Great pickup for Aerox, but bad for ESC. That means they dropped down a few pegs on the kind of esports team ladder. They're not where they were at the end of the RC last year. So, you know, who's going to take up the reins? You know, these top drivers getting picked up by esports teams, and these like kind of homegrown teams, these national teams are kind of maybe disappearing a little bit.
To an extent, maybe. I think there's a vacuum there though for a French team. There's a few French drivers who I think would want to race together, and might be something that we'll see change over the coming weeks and months. Who knows?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about French teams though, and speaking of teams, that's a seamless segue for you. Let's hop onto this team's standing table. We've got Williams, of course, dominating this championship. Mellish, I mean, Remus Racing are in there. Aerox, of course, as well, but can you realistically see anybody other than Williams taking the championship win here?
Well, yeah, because as I said before, like announced that, you know, the Forza RC just announced, you know, a couple of days ago, I think it was even yesterday on Twitter, that they're going to be in LA. Williams are going to be in LA, and that's these guys. Are they going to be able to compete? I don't know. You know, they've not missed a round. They've got that lifeline still in their back pocket. Means that they can miss around, but if they miss two, that's going to damage their championships. Commando not being here tonight, Remus Racing are going to take a hit. Aerox have none of this, have none of these commitments so far, and they could just pour all their efforts into this championship. So I think, give it a couple of weeks, Alie. Give it a couple of rounds. I think we're going to see a shift in momentum, and we're going to see Aerox Motorsport up on top. All
right, well, that's going to be an exciting thing to see. It might be something fun, I think, as well for the people who sit in the commentary booth for the next couple of weeks for this as well. Of course, you and me may not be around for the next coming couple of Saturdays, but we'll be back towards the end of the championship. So we'll find someone else to come and sit in and get to enjoy the TCC instead of us. We are working our way right now towards race number 1, Mellish. Not too long to go at all. Laguna Seca, it's a run down to the Andretti hairpin, that slow left-hander. Is it an easy place? I think a hard place to keep it clean for me. Over that crested left kink and down into the hairpin, quite easy to get tangled up with another car.
Andretti hairpin at Laguna Seca. You know how we always complain about those guys that just can't take the first corner cleanly in a multiplayer hopper, you know what I mean? It's like whoever survives wins. You know, if you can make your way through, you're a champion. If you don't, tough luck. I kind of feel that this is the same, but there is a respect between the drivers, no doubt. But the Andretti hairpin is such a tough corner. It's tough 1, 2. If you can break away and you can set sail, turn 3, no problem. But if you can't, it's a scrap. I remember this from the Corvette C7Rs we did here. They're bigger than these TCC cars, and God, it was like battling with boulders. You know, that Chevy Cruze is a tank. That Honda Civic's made of paper mache. You know, paper mache. I'm not American. Paper mache. You know, and I just think that if those Civics get tangled up, they're going to bear the brunt. They're going to get hit the most and be impacted the most as well. So Tacq's got a big job on his hands. I think the Chevy Cruze, being a tank, can handle that hustle and bustle. I think he's going to come out strong out these first 2 corners. I really do.
I agree. I think, you know, having a car that can go shoulder to shoulder like the Chevy Cruze is a great advantage for someone like Tactical. I only like to see that one Cruze up here in Lobby A though. A lot of Honda Civics and a lot of RS3s, so it's the Hondas and the Audis that Tactical will be up against most of all. I don't know if there's much that you can really split between those 2 cars on a track like this. The Honda can be tuned, I think, to have a little bit more top end than the Audi, but it looks like it can compete as well on grippier tracks if you just turn that final drive down, sort your gearing out, sort your aero out, and it turns into a pretty sweet grip car as well.
Well, something I want to bring your attention to, Alie, and I just couldn't kind of grab it there at the end of the team standings that you were showing us, the point totals, is the fact that GTR Cami has been in Lobby A every single time. But he's part of a GTR team. He's part of a GTR duo with Spearman. And we said this, I said this last week, the fact that when we did DOR and you got that promotion relegation style, you know, B lobby and A lobby between races, We saw Spearman always making it through the ranks. He'd always start at the top of Lobby B, finish well, get himself promoted into Lobby A. We don't have that here at Apex Online Racing. This is the first time he's made it through. So Cammy here is with his teammate, and they're 7th. I think they're 7th in the championship. They've just been mid-pack. Cammy's been mid-pack this entire time. Just consistency, you know what I mean? He's been like he's kind of been like tactical, but for GTR, Cammy has. And now he's got his teammate Spearman, so they're going to make a bucket of points up as well. They're going to be looking for maybe a podium finish as in the team championship, in the team standings. So I'm absolutely rooting for those. So congratulations to Spearman on that as well. Someone going to look out.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Just last time out, we mentioned it a couple of times during the show. That 7th place team, GTR Get Rag, were behind the other GTR team in 9th place. In the championship standings, and the significance of that was really that Cammy and his teammate were the ones who really looked like they were representing the A team, if you like, for GTR. They were the team who felt like they were sort of made of more Forza RC material, and Spearman and Unseen Saint doing a fantastic job in the sort of in what could be considered the B team to go out there and pip them and beat them week on week. You know, the status quo has returned now with GetRag finding a few more points at Magello. But I find that really interesting. I find it interesting how much talent there is at GTR and how, you know, drivers who previously you might have written off are now doing a fantastic job and doing excellent in the championship. Really good to see.
Yeah, and it also should be brought to your attention, people watching the stream, if you don't know this already, it is the top 2 points, the most point, the two drivers with the most points from each team, that only gets counted. If you've got teams of 3, the bottom one will drop, the points will drop and not be counted, but it's the top two, the drivers with the top 2 most points within that team, those get brought together, and that is their total sum for that round. It's absolutely key, because obviously, we're looking at the team standings there. AMS Merckx by himself going solo. Like, he hasn't got much of a chance, and he's doing really well. He's in 8th. He's in 8th as an individual here in the team standings.
Right? Yep.
But, you know, if you're going up against a team with 2 people that are scoring points, it's effectively you only get half of what they're getting, depending on your results. So, AMS Merckx doing a great job, but Cammy and Hurricane, just you know, beating him because of the amount of points they're reeling in for their team. So it does make a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference to have a teammate, not just on the scoreboard, but also on the track. They can help you out a little bit with the cars around you and maybe give you a little bit of a safe haven. We're gearing up, though, for the start of race number 1 here. There's going to be 3 races tonight. The first one is based on qualifying order. The second will be based on the finishing order from race number 1. And the third race will be reverse grid based on qualifying. So, we'll have a warm-up lap. We'll be able to look at the grid and the grid slots during that warm-up lap. And this could be a fantastic race, I think. Heading into Laguna Seca, Mellish, and I think all the drivers hoping to get through that first turn cleanly.
Yeah, 2.24 miles of Californian sunshine. I can't wait to get this underway. We've got 10 laps. You're going to see 11 on your counter because, of course, we have that warm-up lap, and that's all important. Burn the rubber, burn that initial rubber, get the heat in those tyres, get back on that grid, and then we've got 10 laps. This is going to go super, super quick, Alie. It isn't that much bigger, really, than Magello Club. We're talking maybe, 30 seconds? Not even that bigger? Not even that, really. You know, these are very, very short tracks in this TCC championship, but I think that's a vital ingredient to make these races as tasty as they have been so far in this championship.
Yeah, for sure. I love these short tracks. Laguna is quite a short circuit for the full track. Yeah, that's it. There you go. We found a purpose for them. That's exactly it. Exactly it. We can have a little look at the grid positions now, though, as we run around the first lap, warming up the tyres. Mitch will be on pole with Roadrunner on second. Third is 7. And so that is 3 Williams drivers, 1, 2, 3 lockout. 4th, Aerox Bokit with Vane in 5th and Ridge in 6th. So that's Williams 1, 2, 3, Aerox 4, 5, 6. And then we've got GTR Renault, followed by LSEM Turbo, 7th and 8th. 8th, a great performance from Turbo after hot off of his win at the end of last week. 9th is Spearman with 10th TUS Spectre. And then we've got GTR Cammy, Sean, Tactical, Merckx, Alie and Matt Gaming rounding out the field. The big surprise there, of course, Tactical way back in 13th position.
Yeah, but that won't be staying like that for long, will it? We know what happens. It's common nature now. It's second nature. We know what's going to happen when that Chevy blows off the line. Provided he can hit the start, he's going to be making some places, and I expect to see him within the top 10 going into the first corner. Of course, we don't have the straight like we had at Mugello Club, so he's got to make it quick. He's got to make it clean, but I believe he can do it. Just want to return, just backtrack a little bit, Ali. That top 6, that's a beautiful painting. You're setting a picture there. It looks lovely. I'm enjoying what we're seeing. It's Aerox versus Williams here. Oh, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And the fact that we've got GTR and No here, this is his debut into Lobby A. We haven't seen him before in Lobby A in this championship. I don't know who he's running with. I know he's not running with Cammy, and I don't think he's running with Spearman. He may be running as a privateer, but he's out here in 7th place. That's a great job for him. A little bit too late to make a dent in the championship, but if he's here for great racing, there's no better place. So we're seeing what he can do in 7th.
Right, well, you can see at the back of the pack there, the drivers just finding their grid spots, just shuffling their way onto those white lines and getting themselves ready for the start of this race. Williams, Mitch, a few twitches of the wheel, a few corrections there, and getting himself ready as well. It's a nervous moment always to run from the start-finish line, especially if you're on pole position, looking back in the mirror and hoping no one collects you. The revs raised though, and we're getting ready to race here at Laguna Seca. It's round 1 of the Apex Online Racing Touring Car Championship, and we're underway. Williams 7 with a little bit of a slow start. We're hopping back on board here with Aerox Ridge, who's looking up the inside, can't make space there on the pit lane exit. That's not a part of the track. All 3 Williams drivers on the inside of the track, all 3 Aerox drivers on the outside, and 7, the Cork, holding back the Aerox drivers from Williams. Unbelievable start there, and Williams just about hold on, Mellish.
Well, Williams brothers are getting into gears already. They're already in single file. They know what they're doing. The Aerox boys are going 3 wide through turn 3, turn 4. That is going to be scrubbing off momentum speed there that they need to catch. Look at that distance between the Honda Civics and the Audis already. Renault finds his way into 6th place there. Bokit now back down to 7th. Turbo, he had a great start there. Tactical's up to 10th already. Like I said, a couple of corners, he's already in the top 10. But Aerox and Williams have got the better start.
That's right, absolutely right. Williams here away, we're on board. Still with Aerox. Let's hop forward here to Williams 7 if we can, as we come down the corkscrew for the first time. Nothing between the 3 Williams drivers, but still in that order that we saw from the start of the race. Mitch leads the way. Roadrunner in 2nd. 3rd place is 7. Roadrunner, I've got to say, looking very much like he's interested in that position that Mitch currently has. Let's put it that way.
These guys are going to be thinking about the bigger picture, though. They don't want to be challenging their teammates for the points. They just want to hold that Aerox trio back. Bokit is back in 7th, trying to get around Renault. Renault in the Honda Civic doing a fantastic job. Made a place already. He's up to 6th place. And if these guys continue battling at the front of him, he'll be on that back of the pack in no time. Ridge just looking to slipstream in. They're all in single file right now. And I think that trio battle just kind of wore off. 7. That big battery Nando, he is that big double door on that castle, just not going to let Aerox Vane through. These 2 guys have been in fisticuffs the entire calendar so far, and I don't believe that 7's going to give him an inch of space to try and make a move possible.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that even looks like up ahead a move being spoiled for there as we sit on board here with Renault. I wanted to sit here because Renault really spoiling Aerox's party here. It's Williams 1, 2, 3, and then 2 of the Aerox drivers split by this GTR Honda just up in front. It's going to be Bokit sitting behind here, separated from his teammates up the road. 7, yep, has managed to get in front of Roadrunner. So let's hop into that battle on board right now with Roadrunner. Still looking for a way past his teammate, but that'll irk Roadrunner, no doubt, to be put down 1 position.
Absolutely, Williams absolutely bossing the start of this race here in lap 3. We've got 7 laps remaining, and I have to say, what a fantastic start. The problem for me, Alie, straight away, did Roadrunner make a mistake? Because if he made a mistake, and that's what 7 used to take advantage of, that means that Roadrunner may potentially still be faster than 7, and 7 may be holding him up. They've got to make these decisions. They've got to communicate as a team. If Roadrunner is faster, it's better just to let him through. 7 take that 3rd place and become that absolute blockade, which is essential for Williams to take the top 3 spots right now. because Vane is looking hungry.
You say that, I mean, and that's exactly that's the critical point there, that Vane is sitting right on the rear of Roadrunner. There's every chance here that Williams can separate as a 3, can get away, can take the win. But they need to make sure that if there is a threat on one of their drivers, and right now there is a threat on Roadrunner, that they're answering that threat as a team and not, leaving Roadrunner back there and saying, all right, you deal with that, I'm off up the road. I think Seven and Mitch need to be responding to what's happening here between Roadrunner and Aerox Vane.
Well, I think the story on Mitch has already been sold. He's got his eyes on that golden prize. He's not going to be looking back to see what his teammates are doing, but Seven really can help out Roadrunner right now if he becomes unstuck with Vane. Vane looking hungry, looks a lot smoother at the moment. I have to say, looking a little bit edgy in the Honda Civics. Those Audis are just looking so smooth through the high speed and momentum corners here. Really using that camber, using all the curb, using the sand, looking really strong out there. And I have to say, Ridge is not far off the back of this pack either, and he'll be looking to make places up as well.
Yeah, Ridge, we're on board with right now. Just sitting behind Vane, biding his time, looking for a way up and through into those podium positions. It's difficult when you know and respect all the drivers up ahead of you. It's difficult to find you can't put those aggressive banzai moves onto them. You need to bide your time, wait for an accident, wait for the opportunity to put a really assertive overtake down onto the track. Not easy at all. So Ridge, well, I'd say sitting pretty in 5th, but honestly I think he'll wish that he was a bit further up the road.
Yeah, I think someone else who wishes they were a bit further up the road is Tactical, currently in 9th. He made his move on, I think it was TUS Spectre for the Heart Racing team there, down through the corkscrew. So great bravery there from Tactical, especially when that Chevy Cruze really isn't known for its high downforce or its mechanical grip. Either one it doesn't have. So great move from there. He's in 9th, but he's got plenty of space up ahead. I think he can catch and latch himself on to 8th place, which is, who is it? Is it LSCM Turbo? It is LSCM Turbo. And these two guys are no strangers to each other either, so that's going to be an interesting battle if it evolves.
Well, that's right. I mean, Tactical, of course, the only driver who really could have deprived Turbo of the win in the reverse grid race last time out at Mugello. So definitely some previous between Tactical and Turbo. They weren't shy about banging fairings last time out. And, I mean, you're saying if this battle develops, I think it's an inevitability. I think Tactical likely made a mistake in qualifying. Likely was kicking himself for that. He's up from 13th place, where he started this race, to 9th already, and I get the feeling that he's going to be spoiling for, well, at least 8th, if not a top 5 position finish.
Yeah, someone who won't be looking for a top 5 position finish, Ali, is Matt Gaming 661. He's a regular in Lobby 8. It has to be said. Oh, that's a big slide there from Vane. Big slide there. Just hits the sand coming out of turn 2, and that will allow his teammate Ridge through. That's going to slow these guys down, give them the Williams brothers that lifeline they need and all the air and everything they need just to walk away with this championship. What a great run it's been so far for the Williams brothers. Ridge and Vane kind of just bumping each other right now because they don't know who's fastest. Vane with the mistake, but Ridge leads the Aerox trio in 4th place.
Well, don't slide off your chair, Mellish. We Williams drivers up ahead, they're getting away. It's race number 1. There's 2 more races to go yet, and Ridge and Vane definitely look like they have the pace here to threaten the Williams drivers. A little bit unlucky for Vane there, pushing a little bit too hard perhaps in the early sector of the race, and manages to open up that gap. For my money though, Ridge looked a little bit faster in the early part of this race. Looked like he had more pace than his teammate, but couldn't find a way by. This might be what the Aerox drivers need in order to really threaten the Williams drivers. A little bit of space for Ridge.
I can see that. I can understand that. I maybe even applaud that. I understand what you're saying there. Maybe, like I said before, Ridge is not the guy to make opportunity. You know, if he sees an opportunity, he doesn't necessarily take it. He's a kind of a passive-aggressive kind of guy. He makes it a dice roll. You never know when Ridge is going to make it. Look through there, though. Ridge has gone wide there into Andretti hairpin. Vane takes the inside line through turn 3. He's going to resume that position, but look where Renault is now. Renault is caught up to the back of that pack. He's distanced himself from Bokit, and Bokit is now under immense pressure from LSCM Turbo.
Wow.
The light-speed endurance motorsport driver is doing a fantastic job. Tactical can't keep up with him at the moment in this Audi RLMS. And I think that Bokit is now under pressure from this guy.
Wow.
Turbo.
Bokit looking out of sorts, and here we are hopping on board with LSEM Turbo. It's great to be running on board with a driver who really is finding his place in this top ranks in Forza Motorsport 7. Turbo, not a driver who we've seen out racing in a huge amount of series before this, and already looking like he's pushing Bokit here. Incredible stuff. I've got to say, Mersh, Bokit looking rough as old boots out there today, though. Lap 7 of 11 here on race number 1, but Bokit looking rough compared to his teammates in that RS3.
Look at that, Bokit having to go defensive there, takes the midline going into the last corner, and it's going to be LSEM Turbo with the cutback. Is he going to get the room? He's going to have the pace, and he's going to have track position going into the Andretti hairpin. Renault is just out of reach for those guys up front, but LSEM Turbo is going to go side by side with Bokit. Bokit's got the racing line, but Turbo's got the track position. He's going to lock it up under brakes. He's going to get a bump and run there. Tactical's looking up the inside as well. Tactical goes through, and Bokit loses 2 places. 3 laps to go, and Bokit is down to 9th place here. No one could have scripted this.
What? But Bokit straight back through.
All the speed.
Straight back through, getting caught up with each other there. Tactical and Turbo, turn number 3, caught up on each other's bumpers, and Bokit just sluiced his way through up 2 positions. Unbelievable stuff as Tactical throws it back on Turbo there, so Turbo losing out, ultimately slipping down 1 position, and Tactical up the road into 8th. I've got to say though, that was lucky for Bokit right there. That didn't look like skill. That was taking advantage of a situation. He managed it. He did it beautifully. But I don't think it bodes well in terms of pace for the rest of this race. We could see this battle closing up again.
Yeah, I think that Bokit's psychology right now, he won't be feeling confident at all. He's just been given a lifeline. I feel that Tactical was just rather aggressive though, unnecessarily aggressive. Tried to make a move around the outside of turn 3 and turn in. Obviously, when he tried to do that, he rubbed on the back bumper, rubbed on the fender, the rear left-hand fender of Turbo. Then Turbo couldn't turn because of the collision mode. He couldn't turn the car. He had to he straight-lined it. Did the best he could, but then Tactical again dive bombing into turn 4, not really giving LSEM Turbo the time of day really. Turbo's got to respond in kindness. You know, it's tip for tap. He's doing that to you. You've got to do that back to him. He did not deserve that Turbo.
He didn't deserve it, but you know, it was one of those tough moves that you see sometimes on Forza where Tactical's on the outside of the quarter panel, turned in and just stopped Turbo from rotating, and you know, both cars know that at that point it's really, there's not a huge amount that you can really do. You've got to both back off the throttle, or you've got to hope the other driver does it and is a gentleman and lets you through. So not easy for either of them as Tactical gets it very, very screwy there in the run up toward the corkscrew. Turbo back through, Tactical back to 9th. That cruise letting him down again. Tactical will be cursing that heavy car
Turbo
on this twisty track as the 2 of them getting into each other here.
Just tail whips him. Absolutely slammed the ass of that Audi straight into the front of that cruise. Oh, that was beautiful. And look where Spectre is and Spearman now. This is roped in 10th and 11th place drivers, Spectre and Spearman. Honda Civic and Audi's join the battle, and Tactical is going to have to go on the defensive. Is this going to be the opportunity for Turbo to get away? Bokit way out there now. He is going to be so happy with that. Renault, though, looking hungry. Renault looking hungry on the other AOR Motorsport brothers there, up in the front.
That's right. Well, I mean, I'm still sitting here with Spectre, honestly. Spectre representing the Hart Honda team from the American TCR series, and up here in 10th place, eyeing his way up inside that top 10. Up ahead, there's 2 juicy positions waiting to be plucked from the tree of motorsport, or however that metaphor goes. Tactical and Turbo, if they keep bashing into each other like this, it's going to make Spectre's life very easy indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, why do the work yourself when you can get someone to do it for you? It's not
There you
work
go.
hard, it's work smart. That's my philosophy.
Well, let's check in with the leader. We haven't seen much of him this race. He's done a fantastic job out there so far. We're going to take a little lap on board here with Williams Mitch. I mean, what can you say about this guy, Mellish? He's pulled away from pole position, set that lap time and the final chance in qualifying, pipped everybody else, got it onto pole, and has managed to gap second and third. Well, it's looking very likely as he begins the final lap that Mitch will take the first win of the night here at Laguna Seca.
He will absolutely do, but it's his teammates behind that are going side by side. They know that they've branched out now. There's no way that Vane can kind of, you know, close this gap in the last stage of this race, and it's Seven and Roadrunner going side by side with each other. Now they can have the battle, they can have the fun they want between teammates because there's no one there to challenge them. They know that they're going to take the top 3 spots. Great accumulation of points for the Williams Esports drivers here in at the 4th round of the TCC. And I have to say, Seven is looking hungry. It doesn't matter who gets the points here because it all goes towards their team standings. So it's just whoever's bravest, whoever's daftest. It's fun time for the Williams drivers.
Yeah, there you go. And, you know, we've mentioned only 2 drivers can take their points forward to the leaderboard. There's 3 out here racing for Williams, but that does still deprive Aerox and any other team out there of those 3rd place points if these guys keep racking up these positions. I say keep doing it as if they've been doing it a whole bunch of time, but that, of course, isn't true. This is the first time we've seen a 1, 2, 3 of this kind in the AOR TCC. And I can't think of any other team out there who are more deserving of it as Mitch rounds the final corner, accelerates out and heads to the line. He's going to take the first win of the first race here of the night at Laguna Seca. And it's 2nd and 3rd as well for the Williams team as Roadrunner and Seven cross the line. 1, 2, 3 for Williams Esports. That's a fantastic result.
Oh, massive congratulations to Williams Esports there. They had it sewn up, didn't they? You know, the way that it was so polished, you know, at the start of their race, they got in, as soon as they could, they got in a single file. There was no messing about. They knew what they had to do. Really clever racecraft where you saw the Aerox boys just trying to battle each other. You know, there was no leader in that Aerox Motorsport team. They were all battling for that lead, that 4th place. Vane took it for the longest time. He made a mistake, went to Ridge. Broky was nowhere near. But they were battling. They were going 3 wide, and they're just scrubbing off each other's pace. They need to work out and sort through their stuff because that cannot happen going into race 2. They need to be mirror imaging or replicating what the Williams boys are doing, and that just comes with years and years of racing on this game.
I don't think there's any lack of experience at Aerox, though. I don't think. I mean, those guys practice a lot together. We've actually talked previously about them being maybe one of the most sort of well-knit teams out there on the track when you look at them race. Mm-hmm. I will say, though, that I agree that something needs to change there. I wonder if it was just a rare error there from Vane, which spoiled his and Ridge's chances of really threatening Seven and Roadrunner. But I can't see how anyone's going to challenge Mitch unless, well, while he's still got those 2 running rear gunner for him. He's got 2 teammates there who are going to, you know, be the bruisers, sit there in 2nd and 3rd and really make a wall that no one can get past and attack Mitch in 1st. So, yeah, I mean, Mitch looking very strong here as long as he can stay ahead of his teammates. That's my read, at least.
Well, to be fair, though, this is just a lack of decision-making, you know? Like you say, that Vane made the mistake, Riz got in front of him, but then Vane wanted it back. Did they communicate? Because it just looked like they weren't teammates, the way that they, you know, that Vane had to regain control of that 4th place. But, you know, at that point, Seven and Roadrunner are gone. You know, at that point, there was no decision to kind of help Bokit get back into that 6th place and make sure that there was an Aerox Motorsport trio in that 4th, 5th, and 6th. He was getting challenged by Turbo for the longest time. So, lack of decision-making when they're trying to get themselves ready and prepared to challenge the Williams boys right at the beginning of the race. But then there's also a lack of decision-making when they're too far away to make any kind of, to close that gap back up. But they're not helping their teammate Bokit trying to gain that position back off Renault, you know? There was just nothing. It wasn't there, and that's what we need to see. We need to see that decision making because that could be the difference between success or settling for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th positions off the podium.
I agree. I hear what you're saying. GTR Renault, a great run from Renault here. We talked about the BAM team a little bit earlier on. Of course, the sort of alumni from that team who went on to join GTR. And a great result from him here, 6th place. I think this is the first time we've seen Renault out at the AOR TCC, but he's someone who's always loved front-wheel drive cars. We've seen him out in the Mini Challenge all those years ago, and we've seen him in ORL TCCs in the past. So nice to see Renault out here and still performing well in a touring car.
I have to say, I don't want to speak ill. I'm not even going to speak ill. It's not really speaking ill. It's I believe there is a, like you say, a vacuum right now. There's a demand for a really dominant all-French team.
Right.
We see it in other racing platforms. We just don't quite have it here. And I get this sneaking suspicion they may be not a re-emergence, but a reunite of old teammates. Maybe I would love to see Asics get back together with Renault, Nano, Anto. You know, and see them get back together to make an all-French trio, because I think they would be absolutely dominating right now. I'm not saying that Renault is not doing bad, you know, that GTR is a bad team. I'm not saying that at all. But out here, who's his teammates? You know, he's got Cammy, and but Hurricane's not here. He's got Spearman, but he's not part of the team. Where is Renault's teammates? You know, that's the language barriers. You know, I feel there's an opening for a pure French team right now. And I think that Renault is one of those drivers that could take that.
I mean, adding one driver to that French team's roster, I'd certainly like to see Hayasa make a comeback. He's been a little bit absent from the Forza community for a while. Not been around since the RC last year. He did actually a really strong job in the Forza RC 2018, taking the winter off. But Hayasa would also make a great addition there. I think also a GTR driver at the moment, or is he AMS? Hayasa, maybe AMS. I'm not clued up. I haven't seen him around for a while. GTR, okay.
We just sent him around.
Yeah. It's been a good first race. I think a little bit less overtaking than Mugello, but it's still touring cars, so there's still plenty to entertain ourselves with. Roadrunner and Seven, they're getting into each other a bit, Mellish, and you know we've talked about those two a little bit this season. Not quite as much as we've talked about Mitch, but it can feel a little bit like when Roadrunner and Seven are fighting on track. I sometimes wonder, they're both drivers who know what they want. They're not compromising drivers, either of them. And I wonder whether or not there might be a little bit of an interpersonal battle brewing there between those two. They're so close on pace, and they're tangling on track so often that, it feels like something's in the works there.
For me, I can see where you're going with that. I just believe that they know each other so well, you know, because of being Williams now for an entire year. They know how each other drives. They practice together. Like Roadrunner said in the YouTube chat, he was waiting until there was a good 200, 300 foot from Vane to even start challenging Seven. It was a sensible decision, and then they just drove sensibly. For me, they were challenging each other, but it wasn't harming each other. They were never going to get caught. They were just, I think, maybe just having a bit of fun. I don't know. That's just how I saw it. They knew that Mitch was off in the distance. They know in their heart of hearts that they're not going to challenge Mitch. They know this, and a lot of people do the same. They know that Mitch is just OP in front wheel drives. So they settle for second, but they both want to settle for second, and that's where the interest came from. There, that's where that engagement came from. They were just battling each other. It was nice to see. It was really refreshing to see because. They like to play with their food, and they probably considered each other food right there, just slapping each other around a little bit. They could, you know, these Honda Civics, they could take a few whacks. It was good fun to watch, definitely good fun to watch. But I don't think they would ever compromise their own success, and they wouldn't give up their own success to Aerox. That's for sure.
All right, okay. Well, I mean, you said it. I think it all starts as good fun. That's the joy of it. Ends in tears is the trouble. Williams Mitch will be very happy, I'm sure, to hear that kind of analysis as well. We've talked about his sort of his on-track stance and prestige, if you like, growing as the years have passed. Mitch looking more and more like a driver who, just like you say, other very, very fast drivers will settle for second to, and that's because you know that it's almost a losing battle. So he's so quick, especially in touring cars, as you said. I think sometimes though it takes a change of attitude. It takes we've seen that attitude a whole lot, of course, with G2 Liège in other racing on Forza and other series. But it's an attitude you have to shake. You have to, get your glass of water or whatever and splash it across your face and think, I can't be thinking that. I don't think Roadrunner can afford to think that. I don't think Seven can either. If they're slipping into that habit, then that's a bad habit to get into for the Forza RC or for the Le Mans Esports Series or for any other of these large events that are coming up very shortly.
No, I agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it's okay in certain situations. I think that a diversity in the way that you think on the track is always good. Keeping your opponents guessing is probably one of the best strategies to keep. You know, not trying to formulate a pattern that your opponent can take advantage of. But as teammates, like you say, don't settle into a habit of just having fun in it. You know, the enjoyment comes from winning. The enjoyment comes from winning as a team. If you're becoming a hindrance to your teammates and you're actually causing more harm than good, then there's an issue there that needs to be addressed. I didn't really see it in that first race, but if we definitely see it in this race, then maybe habits are forming, and that's where they need to question themselves as a team. And I haven't seen it yet, but it could be evolving into something like that, especially with Le Mans coming up. That's not what they want to do.
Well, we're in the run to race number 2 here. The drivers getting ready to get out there on track for a second time. It's going to be a grid set by the race finishing order of race number 1. It's a whole lot of words, but what it means is Mitch is smiling because the pole sitter took the win in race number 1, and he'll be on pole once again, looking to repeat on that performance. Let's hop on board with the cars as they set out on the warm-up lap and get themselves, well, sorted, get themselves in the right headspace and ready to go. Someone I think, Melesh, who is going to need a lot of help getting into that headspace is Aerox Bokit. We're so used to saying how great Bokit's doing, but maybe a little bit underwhelming in the first race this week.
Well, he's certainly going to be underwhelmed in race 2, Ali. Look who he's got behind him. It's I was going to say TX3 Tactical, then it's not. It's just Tactical. Just Tactical here for the Remus Race team. He's in the Chevy Cruze. We know what happens off the line. I think that Tactical actually gained maybe 2 positions off the line. So Renault and Bokit, both in his crosshairs, both in the Chevy's crosshairs. And if that happens straight off the start, then, you know, you're being underwhelmed even more than you were when you started this race. So he might be losing a couple of positions way off the start. LSCM Turbo looking strong as well. And I have to say that both of these drivers, I think, can make a real big impression on Bokit and just sink that Aerox trio even further. Just even further.
I completely agree. So separating Bokit from his 2 teammates, Vane and Ridge, who are up the road in 4th and 5th. Williams continues to lock out the first 3 places on this grid as Mitch gets the pace slowed right down in the warm-up lap. He's bunching the pack up together before the corkscrew for reasons of Mitch, I suppose. Only Mitch knows why.
I think it's because Turbo's got damaged. Turbo's had to make his way through the pack to go into the pits. I just saw him scupper past the single file traffic of this pack here, and I think he's making his way into the pits. So yeah, I think that may be why. Well, I'd love to see him, you know, play with his food, but I don't think that's the real reason why. Have to say, on the flip side of Bokit though, Renault didn't get the best start. He didn't get the best start in race 1. It looked like he bogged seriously off the line. And lost a few positions. I think Turbo was one of those guys to capitalize for a very short period of time. But Renault needs to up his game straight off the start, dump that clutch and get that Civic going, because if he doesn't, Bokit will be taking advantage. It's who's going to have the biggest advantage that is going to be taking these 2 drivers here. I certainly think that Tactical has a real good chance of slipping into 7th position when they're the first couple of corners. What can Vane do? Is Ridge faster than Vane? The questions that we're going to be asking. Can Ridge make it round Vane in the first couple of corners? Are we going to see sublime team skills from the Williams drivers once again? Are the Aerox boys going to have a little bit better decision making? Those are questions that are going to be being answered very shortly as we get underway for race number 2.
Well, here we are on board with Bokit, I think, for the start of this race. I think that's the place to be. Just to his left, you can see GTR Renault there, the driver we've been talking about. It managed to split the Aerox boys. Behind him as well, there's a whole lot of very hungry drivers, including just out of shot, just to his left. In fact, we can see him just there, sort of the orange bonnet sneaking beneath William 7's gamer tag. That's Tactical in the Cruze, side by side with Bokit. So somebody who's very fast off the line. We know how quick the Cruise is accelerating. And up the inside of Bokit, I think he'll be up there like a rat up a drain pipe, possibly before the start-finish line there, Mellish. I mean, is there anything Bokit can do to hold back Tactical, do you think?
Of course there is. Of course there is. We saw it with Civic. We saw, you know, that priceless move with Williams getting the run on Commando and just kind of bumping that speed off. He could do it if he dares, but Tactical's been super aggressive so far. I wouldn't want to tangle with him just at the moment. Oh, I love this, Alie. I love it. You can hear him as they all get off for the start there. Great start there from Bokit. Renault again dogging off the start. He's going to lose 2 positions immediately. Bokit looks towards the inside line. He's going to hold that there. The Civics there getting absolutely trounced by the Audis. And here comes Tactical looking around the outside. Gets in the tangle with Vane. Vane in the middle of this Audi trio. And it's 3 wide for the Civics, 3 wide for the Audis. I have never seen anything like this at all. Mitch holding the inside line. No, Roadrunner holding the inside line, sorry. Mitch resolved down to 2nd place there, 7. Look at the inside line. Ridge in 4th, Vane in 5th. Tactical all the way up to 6th, and he's looking charged. He's charging on the inside of Vane. He's going to make that stick. Vane's just going to have to hold back and go back into that 6th place there. Really heavy on the brakes of Tactical. Just needs to get his head in the game. He's just absolutely feral at the moment in the Chevy Cruise. He's desperate to make up places. He knows his teammate Commando isn't here, and it's all up to him to make up the points.
Well, what a fascinating start to this race. Mitch lost the lead there for a short amount of time. Managed to get it back just in the run up the hill, and Roadrunner back down to 2nd, but Aerox Ridge has snuck into the Williams blockade, broken up that top 3, and he's in there in 3rd place with Williams 7 sitting behind him. So the Aerox boys starting to mix it up with the Williams drivers now to run through the end of lap number 1. And Mitch looking very human and Tactical off the track. That's huge at the back of the track there. 3 cars off, and Tactical losing out after a very promising start.
Holy moly, these guys swapping paint jobs. Tactical taking the racing line, there's no one there side by side with him. Completely running Renault off the track there. Cammy makes it through. This is a great performance from Cammy, just seizing the opportunity while everyone's in fisticuffs right now. Bokit back in that 6th spot, so he's not lost anything. Great job from him. Renault, Tactical losing out. Cammy now getting swallowed up from Tactical. Tactical running super aggressive. And like you say, Alie, out in front, Ridge has taken that solid 3rd spot away from 7.
Unbelievable here at the start of race number 2. Really setting fire at Laguna Seca. Of course, it's race number 2 of the AOR TCC. The 4th round of the championship, and Tactical up the inside of Cammy, making that stick on the camber there on the inside of the track. Beautifully done, beautifully held, and Tactical makes up a position. Cammy wants it back though, almost immediately. That won't happen through that kink, but just about actually hopping on here with Cammy. What am I seeing? This is Renault slipping by, excuse me. I thought that was Tactical for some reason. Sean as well, so Cammy dropping back 2-3 positions in the space of just 1 or 2 corners. Cammy getting bullied here, Mellish.
Yeah, Sean putting on a great drive. We didn't see much from him in the first race there, just drifting off the back of the pack. Renault again off the track, out the exit, the corkscrew. That's not going to be great for him. Sean there, holding that 9th position from Cammy. I want to see a little bit more from him. We know he's got the pace. He's got to evolve into that wolf. He's still a bit of a sheep at the moment. Alie looking strong as well on the back of Cammy. And we can just see AMS Mercs there, just drifting off, back, rounding out the top 10 there. Just at the back in the only old Audi S3. A good job for him.
Cammy's not done here. Sean, the driver we were talking about before the start of this race, a real promising up-and-comer here in the AOR TCC. Taking a little bit of pressure from Cammy, allowing him to have a little sniff at the position back. But there's another driver there in the form of PCM Alie, trying to sneak his way up into the top 10 here. Everybody wants a piece of Cammy today, and slipping back down is ordered very, very quickly indeed.
Talk about slipping back down there. We saw Turbo going into the pits on the warm-up lap. Something happened there where he accumulated damage, had to go into the pits before the race started. And he's already back in 16th, so he must have had a hatch of a start as well. He's not looking strong. He looked fantastic in race 1. The same can't be said for race 2, though. Something must have happened that we just didn't catch on camera, but he's way at the back there, bang out of form, and he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up on GTR Spearman.
That's a great shame for Turbo. We saw such promise in him, and last time out at Mugello, just a little bit of inconsistency creeping into his results. in race number 2. Forward up the field, we can hop on board with Williams 7, the orphaned Williams driver, the one who's not in the nice Williams family up there at the top of the field, but rather has an Aerox driver to look at up the road from him. And that's, of course, Aerox Ridge. You can see him right there holding the middle of the road and the line down towards the Andretti hairpin. 7 not close enough right now for a move, but you've got to think it's just a sweet turn away. It's just a well-held acceleration out of a corner away for 7. That chance for a move could come at any second.
We saw Roadrunner and 7 battling out in the last stages of race 1. Will the tables turn? Will Roadrunner just slow down that pace and allow 7 the opportunity he needs to get around the outside of Ridge? Where's the opportunity going to present itself? I have to say, Alie, one of the most promising overtaking opportunities on this track is the little kink before you go towards the corkscrew. People get that wrong all the time. If you don't get that camber just perfect, if you don't clip that red bump just perfect, you can lose so much time. I think that Ridge has been spot on with that so far. 7, is he going to wait for a mistake, or is he going to present that opportunity for himself?
That's the $1 million question, and Ridge running through the corkscrew there will be thinking all about that. He's kept it consistent so far. Here we are on board with him, and you can't see in his mirrors, but they're all full of that green Honda of Williams 7. He must be under a huge amount of pressure right now, just looking at the field, hoping to be able to get past Williams Roadrunner, hoping to be able to put a car between him and 7. But nothing's breaking that gap so far. Lap 6 of 11. Halfway through this race, I don't quite know how. They whip by these touring car races. And it looks like it could be another win for Mitch here. A little bit more hard fought, though, this time round, Mellish. Roadrunner looking like he almost gave Mitch a run for it there. Maybe listening in on the commentary and thinking, you know what, I'm not done. I'm not toast. I wanna see if I can get this win.
Yeah, it was a little bit more scrappy there. Not like that, you know, that beautiful, pristine, choreographed start they had in race 1. It was almost really scrappy. It's like they didn't know what to do with themselves. It was, you know, 3 wide, you know, 2 rows. Like 2 in a row. We had the trio of the Williams, with the Williams trio out in front, and then we had the Aerox boys doing exactly the same. It's like no one had learned their lessons. 3 wide is just never going to work around Laguna Seca. And, you know, as a result, 7 is kind of lacking a little bit. He had that performance in race 1. Doesn't have it here. Ridge looking sublime at the moment. Super smooth, using all the track. You've got to say there for Ridge. That difference in line that he's taken from 7. 7's taken such a narrow line, exiting the corkscrew, where Ridge is all the way out towards the sand almost, and then just cutting straight back in, using all the camber in the Audi, and he's reeling Roadrunner in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think I called Ridge out earlier as vain, so apologies there to Ridge and perhaps to Vane as well, who knows. Yeah, no, Ridge in 3rd place right now. Great performance from him. Driver who we've been maybe a little bit critical of not putting aggressive enough moves on it out there on track. But today, this day in history, absolutely shining at Laguna Seca. Great to see as Ridge hunts down that next step of the podium. We can hop back here, though, on board with Vane, the driver who qualified 1 position up from Ridge. Was the leading Aerox driver in race number 1, but a little bit ropier here in race number 2 for Vane, who's looking a little bit more comparable to Bokit in this second race. Not the fastest we've seen him, but Ridge holding down the fort.
Absolutely. Lap 7 of 11, 4 laps remain, and it's Mitch who's taken in a substantial lead so far in this race. Roadrunner in 2nd place has got a long way to go as Ridge capitalizes and catches him up in that 3rd spot. We've got 7 in 4th place, Vane 5th, Bokit 6th, Tactical 7th, Renault in 8th, Cammy 9th, and Sean 1-5, 2-8, rounding out the top 10. Great job from Sean there.
Well, I'm actually going to hop back on board with Sean, a little bit of the man of the moment right now, somebody who's been very quick. We've talked about it an awful lot. He's in the wars here in race number 2, stuck between GTR Cammy and AMS Mercs. Cammy up the road from him looks weak, looks a little bit out of sorts here in race 2. And looks like he might be able to get a position there. But for every time that Sean attacks and tries to get his way through into 9th position, AMS Mercs just catches up that little bit and is able to yeah, I mean, force Sean to defend at very least, if not put him in a really nasty situation. So Sean attacking and defending at the same time, and that's a difficult combination.
Yeah, absolutely. Just further down the field, though, LCM Turbo doing a fantastic job. He's gone from back of the pack to 14th, so he's made and gained a couple of places there. Spectre and Alie are now in his sights, but he's got a long way to go with 3 laps remaining. Can he make the moves? We don't know yet. I'll keep tabs on him, Alie, to see how his progression is in these last couple of laps.
That's right. Only 3 more rotations around this track remaining. And Sean backing off a little bit there from the rear of GTR. Cammy up in the lead of the race. Nothing has changed, but Williams 7 continues to pile the pressure onto Ridge. These two have been, well, slipping away. This gap's been appearing and disappearing at different times throughout the race. Ridge at some points looking like he has the pace over 7, and 7 looking very hungry to work his way back onto the podium from time to time, as well as Ridge gets a nice defensive line there into the final corner, knows all about what 7 was trying to do, and he tries the undercut, the way out of that final corner, run up the straight here, and 7 is going to take 3rd back from Ridge, and there's nothing you can do to hold that back.
No, absolutely. The Audi may have it on the handling stats and the the momentum around the corners. It has that downforce, but the Honda Civic has so much mechanical grip. It has the torque out the slow speed, so it really does gain an advantage coming out the last corner. 7 getting a little bit squirrely though, just clips the sand with the rear left tire. He's got to be careful. He's made all the hard work. He's put all the hard work and effort into catching Ridge. He doesn't want to lose it just a couple of corners later.
That's right, this is definitely the battle to be on board with right now, though the other cars very much spaced out on this track. Ridge breathing down the neck of Williams 7. We haven't seen these two really sort of face off before. I'm not sure they have a huge amount of experience racing up against each other. Not, 7 not somebody Ridge is familiar with, Ridge not somebody 7 is familiar with, and so they're both learning, they're both working out how they drive, how they race. Ridge, they're losing out after a cutback from 7 on the final corner. It was a peach of a move, and now Ridge really needs to answer that in the coming couple of laps in order to get back onto that podium.
And when you talk about two drivers that have never driven together or never driven against each other, imagine it to be a blank canvas, if you will. It's someone is forming their own opinion, their own dossier of you as a driver. So you want to make a great impression. I think 7 did a great job there to make a clean move on Ridge. And I think that will stick in Ridge's mind. And then that's a good, to have a positive attitude or a positive, image of someone that's your opponent is always better than having a negative, because when they come to, when you two guys meet again inevitably, and you will meet again, further on in the championship, if not next race, you know what kind of opinions you form of that person, you know what kind of, racing is to be had with that person. And if it's good racing, then you enjoy it. But if you've got bad history can certainly repeat itself as well, and it just puts a negative state in your mind, and it does actually really affect the way that you drive on the track.
Bad history can repeat itself. I mean, if you're expecting the cars around you to behave badly, it puts your defenses up. It has you with your gloves up when you're there facing off against another driver. You need to try and keep that slate clean with everybody. Otherwise, one little clash on one track can cause another clash on another track 5 weeks later, way on down the season. You just don't want to get a bad reputation out there. And Ridge and 7 feeling each other out right now, and could be that Ridge has got to move on planned here. Closed right up to the rear of 7 at the end of the penultimate lap. And clicking over the line, there's Ridge beginning lap number 11 of 11. There's Mitch beginning lap 11 of 11 as well in the lead of this race, but Ridge with just a few more corners, one more rotation to find his way past 7. Otherwise, it's all for naught.
I have to say, though, Roadrunner here, we know he's in second place to Mitch, but the distance that he's been able to maintain to Mitch is so much smaller, substantially. It's a smaller gap that Mitch has been able to gain this time. That's credit to Roadrunner, and it also shows that when you are battling, regardless of whether it's your teammates or not, that does scrub off time. But Roadrunner keeping Mitch within his sights. I mean, he's not in a challenging position, and I don't think he will be. That's not realistic. But what I'm saying is that for a man that says he doesn't have the pace in front-wheel drive cars and to maintain a certain gap, you've got to give yourself credit for that. You have to give yourself credit, because if you don't, no one else will.
Yeah, you're right. And you got to take those. You got to take some wins. You got to know what a win looks like, and pat yourself on the back from time to time, especially if other people aren't out there doing it for you. Right now, though, we're going to have to do that for Mitch, I think, because this guy is unstoppable. Here we go, race number 2, lap 11 of 11, big old one tyre fire on the way out of the last turn, and Mitch takes the next win. 2 for 2 at Laguna Seca so far, and only one race remains. That's the reverse grid coming up. It's going to be Roadrunner in second, with Williams 7 in third, and Aerox Ridge having to settle after all that for 4th position.
Yeah, what a great job from Mitch. Actually setting a lap record there, 128.743, faster than he was in his qualifying round. He's warming up here in the 4th round of the TCC, and it is gold for glory at the moment for Mitch. 2 out of 2. He's going to be starting way at the back here in race number 3 in the reverse grid, because of course, Alie, it's a reverse grid based on the qualifying time. So he will be starting at the back, but we know how tenacious he is. Can he make a top 5 finish in this race? It remains to be seen.
I love reverse grid races. I adore them.
I do.
Thing, you know,
I love it. It makes qualifying null and void. But I absolutely love the fact. I would rather the fastest people start at the back. I just would. It's just like poking a monkey.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'd say I completely agree. It's fantastic because it's we see quite a lot of reverse grids. We saw a lot of them in 2018 with them being part of the Forza Racing Championship format. I think a few of the pro drivers got a little bit tired of them. Felt like there was too much randomness involved or too much aggression required to cut through a pack. But I think that's half of racing, you know. I mean, I'm not one of those guys who'll say there's racing drivers and there's hot lap drivers and there's a real definition between those two. I think there's fast drivers and I think there's slow drivers, frankly, and some fast drivers are a little bit better at racing than others, but they're all pretty good at it. But I do think it's more spectacular to see some close wheel-to-wheel driving out there, and I love to see these opportunities for cars to sluice by each other. Mitch, last time out, we were talking about our concerns about Mitch as a driver who maybe wasn't shining enough in the reverse grid races. He went out there, went from last place on the grid all the way up to 4th by the end of the race. Has that taken away all your doubts, Mellish? I don't know if it has with me. I'm just not sure what to think right now.
I have to say, I think, he capitalized on every opportunity, and he forced those opportunities. He made his own opportunities as well, so that some were presented to him, some of them he created by himself, and I think that he capitalized on every single one of them, and that's what the kind of result you'll get by doing that. Commando, more passive, not so much an aggressive driver, finished 11th, and that's no bearing on his skill as a driver, because he was second. Really, he should have been first if Mitch didn't want to play fisticuffs at the end of the race. You know what I mean? He should have been winning races. But the fact that just different mentalities, Mitch knows what is required when you're driving front-wheel drive cars on narrow tracks. You have to force the issue. Anybody that watches British touring cars will know the same. And it's just that kind of culture of racing. You can't escape it. You can't, trying to bring maybe, I don't know, F1 style tactics where you don't want to touch each other. You want it to be relatively clean. This just isn't going to get you places, I'm afraid. It just isn't. Or it's just going to take so much longer. And these are short sprint races, forget. These aren't endurance races. These are 10 laps. 10 laps. You've got to force the issue. You've got to make your presence known. You've got to make it stick, and you've got to get it done. If you just keep tiptoeing around people, you ain't going to go nowhere. Just nowhere. You're going to go nowhere, Alie.
I hear you on that. I mean, let's wait and see. Let's see how it goes. I still think Mitch, he doesn't have that sort of panache that a previous TCC winner, JSR, LZR these days, Rossi has. I've never seen anyone work through a field in the way that Rossi does, and he's really the standard to beat for me. Mitch doesn't quite have that fluidity.
Ooh.
You know, I think Rossi is he's an incredible driver and not somebody we're seeing out in this championship. Hopefully we'll see him later on down the road. But he's somebody who has this fluidity in passing other drivers in a reverse grid situation, especially where you never wonder about his aggression. You never think he's too aggressive. You never wonder about stewarding decisions afterwards. But instead, it's just like, you know, the seas part for him. That's how it appears. He's just placing his car incredibly clever, incredibly thought out, and getting his way through that pack.
See, you've got a very short memory, Alie, haven't you? In the sense that, yes, Rossi, you put Rossi on a pedestal, and I will forever remember being teammates with Rossi in the C7Rs, and it was great. And I know what his performance is like. He is sublime. I grant you. But what you don't remember is the pit stops that used to be included in the previous TCC seasons. So yeah, he could start at the back in the reverse grid, get that early pit in lap 1, and then just hot lap for the rest. And yeah, he would leapfrog most of the pack. Like, we don't have that. That's why we haven't seen maybe just the same amount of skill or what you remember from Rossi in these races, because there is no opportunity like that. Mitch used to do the same in the Retro Delta Minis, remember? He used to make the pit on lap 1 and then just leapfrog the bunch. I
have seen Rossi go from last to first in one lap, and I'll never forget it. That guy, unbelievable in a reverse grid situation. I mean, at the same time, I agree. I've also been critical of Rossi's overtaking from time to time. I think he's in a pro context, in a Forza RC context, I think a little bit not quite aggressive enough out on track, or perhaps aggressive at the wrong moment.
Yeah.
So he finds himself getting penalties, and then in the moments when he wouldn't have got a penalty, he finds himself giving away positions. So yeah, it goes both ways. We're sitting here right now though, looking at GTR Cami. That's enough about Rossi. We'll talk to the cars who are right in front of us. And Cami has had a pretty good day. Bullied a little bit in race number 2, but his pace has been strong here at Laguna Seca.
It has been very strong. You know, he rolled up his sleeves and got to work, but then lost it all like immediately, instantly afterwards. So hoping he can maintain and be that consistent driver that he needs to be in the Honda Civic to get and navigate his way around the Laguna Seca. Tall order though. It's a tall order for Cami. He's got Sean in front of him, Tactical in 4th place. Tactical is going to be looking to take the lead and win this race. I have a sneaking suspicion. But he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get around AMS Merckx, PMC Alie, but most importantly, Matt Gaming. Now, Matt Gaming, he's just been the most unfortunate driver you could ever have here. You know, I think he started at the front because of the reverse grid qualifying structure. He's been starting at the front nearly every reverse grid. But he's always hitting the sand. He's always just doing something that just tipping himself over the edge, and he's just never been able to capitalize on that reverse grid. Hopefully, fingers crossed for Matt Gaming, he can make this one stick.
I mean, Matt, he's had a tough week here at Laguna Seca. He's shone a little bit more at some of the previous tracks. Some great performances back in Mugello, back in round 2 as well, in Bugatti and also Brands Hatch. Tough week here at Laguna, though. Seeing him starting on first position in the reverse grid race. Yeah, I mean, as you say, Tactical, you really have to sit on board with this guy for the start of this race, because his car's just so quick off the line. You know that he's going to be all over those cars up ahead. Tactical starting in 4th. This reverse grid, though, is of course means that all the fastest drivers, those protagonists we've been talking about in the first 2 races, they're here, they're still there. They're just right at the back of this grid. And you can see them in the rear of that shot, those bright green and bright white Honda Civics of the Williams team. We've got to hop on board with Tactical and get ready to drop that clutch. He's going to want to get the lead quickly. He's going to need to get the lead quickly and start to break this pack as soon as he can. He passes 1. The crew's giving him all that acceleration, and down the hill passes a 2nd. Now it's only him and Matt 66661 for the win. I mean, it's a beautiful start there in that cruise, and it's really its party piece. The car is not fast enough for the rest of the race, so he's going to have a lot cut up for him.
Alie is full wide of the back. They just don't care. There's no one else on track right now. It's tunnel vision. It's like they're standing in that. They're standing in that. You know, where the horses stand at the beginning of the Grand National, just blinkers. They can't see anybody else. It is just go at the back there. Cammy losing an absolute ton of places. One that we said we'd watch out for, but he's struggling right now here. Spectre looking at the inside of Merckx in fourth place there. He's just going to let off. He did that at the wrong time. He let off the gas at the wrong time. Spearman looking around the outside of the kink there. He loses another place. He's back down to 7th. Ridge looking his way to make up at the top of the corkscrew into 7th. Spectre's going to hold him off here, but it's the Aerox boys making the biggest gains right now, Alie.
Aerox still waiting their way up to the bottom of the top 10. There's a long old way to get to the lead of this race. I'm loving this punchy race that Spectre's having in the Hart Honda, sitting right now in 7th position and holding back the leading Aerox driver. You can see the nose of that car peaking after every corner. It's got such a sweet run out of the bends. There's another Aerox driver. Trouble and more trouble there for Aerox. A car sideways on the way out of the final corner. Was that Vane losing out there? And the pack bunching up massively behind. So Spectre, well, his punchy defending is it's working well for him, but not for the cars behind him.
Oh my god, it's 4 wide and 7 makes an absolute peach of a dive on there on Vane. Doesn't make it stick. He was momentarily in 9th there from the back of the pack. They're that close. I think he went from 14th to 9th in the space of a corner, and then he's in 10th. He's managed to sift through his way. Vane is leading that massive pack of Titans at the back of this touring car lobby A. Sean has got breather. He's breathing down the back of Spectre. Ridge is looking very, very strong at the moment, and Tactical is in first.
Yeah, we're just watching that battle for the lead. Tactical fighting it out with Matt and Alie. They were 3 wide in the run out of turn 1. 2 wide when they got through the first sector, and now Tactical's managed to slip his way by. Alie now threatening Matt, who makes a little tiny mistake on the way up through the corkscrew. Merckx, what a dive bomb, what an absolute banzai move into the corkscrew. Scares Matt off the line more than anything, and works his way up onto the podium. Unbelievable move from Merckx there.
He literally perched it on the top of the corkscrew, stopped the car, rotated it 90 degrees, maybe doing 5 miles an hour, and gains a position. Look at Ridge there on the inside. Ridge on the inside of Spearman. Spearman didn't even see that. That came out of nowhere. And Spearman gets swallowed there, but he's going to go side by side into turn 1 here. Ridge has got track position. Spearman on the racing line, and Ridge is going to hold him off going into turn 1. Matt Gaming up ahead, got a breather for the moment. Merckx, what a move for 3rd place. And Spearman pushed way out wide. Spectre's going to capitalize on this moment as well if he's not careful. Ridge already into 5th place, lap 4.
Yeah, great driving from Ridge here, and you know, it serves us right for Smack talking about his ability to overtake. Ridge showing us up, and I'm very pleased to be shown up indeed. Doing a fantastic job here at Laguna Seca, working his way from the rear of this pack all the way up towards, well, almost the podium. You've got to think that over the next 6 laps, he's going to manage to get onto that podium.
I absolutely love this. I don't even want to call that dude, because Matt Gaming, he must be furious. He has been so inconsistent in his own performance. He's just had the most unluckiest draw ever. He really has, and I feel that this time again locks it up under brakes. He's now muscling his way through the corkscrew. Actually cuts it there a little bit. The marshals are going to be looking at that. He is just so rocky right now, and I cannot see him keeping that 4th place. But Merckx is going to hold on. He is in the tank of the old Audi. That is one brick car, as well as the Chevy Cruze. It takes a good pounding to get past that car. Merckx, great job at the moment. And look at Matt Gaming again, locking up under brakes, Alie. He just cannot keep it under control.
I'm sitting here with Mitch, just coming through the final corner there, made a double overtake on the 2 cars just behind him. That, of course, was Matt's teammate, Sean, and Aerox Bokit, so working his way up the field steadily here, Mitch, but he's surrounded by Aerox drivers and into the rear of Vane there, giving him a bit of a run. That's Vane taking Mitch off the track, both of them trying to make it through turn number 1, and Mitch in the barrier. Massive shunt for the championship leader, and Vane, I think, will have a few words to say about that as well. Very, very close crash between those two. Vane really coming in and clipping Mitch's quarter panel. Mitch surely with damage there. You can see him struggling to keep that thing pointing in the right direction. And that is a wrecked Honda Civic, if you ever wanted to see one.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Mitch. Yeah, you really do have to push the boundaries sometimes. Maybe he just overstepped it slightly. Consolation for the Aerox boys, though. Ridge looking in a solid 4th right now. Bokit in 8th. So regardless of where Vane finishes, because they take the top 2 points from each race, from the drivers in a team. So Bokit and Ridge really doing a good job there for the Eric's boys. Mitch and, oh sorry, Roadrunner and 7 just nowhere in sight right now.
That's right, Roadrunner and 7 nowhere in sight. So after 2 so promising races, race 1 and 2 locked out by the Williams trio of Mitch, Roadrunner and 7. Race number 3 has been a little bit tougher for them. But their loss, of course, is someone else's gain. Bokit coming up the inside of Spearman and 7 now, fishing around there on the straight and looking for a Audi spaced gap up ahead of him. Spearman's defending, also trying to find his way through past Spectre, who's driven a brilliant defending race. Let's be fair on TUS Spectre here, Mellish. What a great defensive drive from him throughout this race.
Well, it was a mistake in the turn 3 that saw Spearman get a little bit loose. Spectre capitalised on the moment. Hasn't done enough so far to capitalise on getting Matt Game in. That 5th spot from Matt Game in. But Bokit sniffing around, poking his bonnet in where it doesn't belong. He's sensing where his territory is, and he's looking at the inside of Spearman here. I think he's going to get him straight on the brakes there. Spearman going to give him the room. You just can't give people the room in touring cars. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile there. Spearman manages to hang it around the outside, which in unpopular fashion, Alie, is actually the fastest way around that corner is the outside line. It's probably one of the only corners like it in the game.
It's an interesting camber on that corner, and you can really get on the throttle very early indeed. Very interesting bend out there on Forza, and one which takes a long time to get sweet. On board here with that man at the moment, the Aerox driver. Bokit sitting in 8th position and trying to get up and support his teammate Ridge, but Spearman's done such a great job blocking him off so far. You have to do that for a few more laps yet in order to hold on to that 7th position.
I have to say though, I've got a sneaking suspicion we're about to see our first ever Polish race winner. Alie is looking so strong at the moment. Tactical has got all of his defensive guns out. He's billowing smoke out those corners just to get that Chevy Cruze rotated. Merck's looking strong. Alie has got his work cut out. He has got to go defensive. He's got to go offensive. But I believe that we may be seeing our first ever Polish race winner here in any touring car championship of any form here on Forza Motorsport, and I really are hoping it for him. But he's got his work out. There's Merckx going at the inside. Alie just cuts her nose off Merckx, and they're going to go side by side. Look at that, rubbing fenders.
No messing around, those two, getting stuck into it, and Merckx eventually making a bit of a bruiser of a move on the 2nd place runner, gets his way up into that challenging position for the win in this race. Keep in mind though, Ridge also wants it. He's stuck on the quarter panel of Alie. Those two getting very connected there on the way into the corkscrew. That's dangerous. That's a tough place to get mixing in that way. You can so easily get caught out by the track and find yourself in the barrier. Ridge gets away with it though, as does Alie, and those two will, they'll live to fight another lap, I suspect.
Oh, you should have seen what Ridge just did then. He feinted to go up the inside and moved straight back to the racing line. Alie had to go mid-track because he thought he had to go defensive. Kind of scrubs his own speed off though. He didn't do it too badly. He still maintains that 3rd spot though, but Ridge just working his way like a puppet master up this pack in 4th. He has done absolutely excellent for the Aerox boys so far. I've got to give him a round of applause because he is just weaving his way through this traffic like it was a Sunday drive.
Brilliant to see, absolutely brilliant. Ridge judging his lines off of Alie up ahead, always a little bit further to the outside on the turn in, always a little bit further to the outside on the exit of the corner as well. Just a few extra miles an hour than Alie. It's sometimes a little bit easier to follow than it is to lead here on Forza Motorsport 7, and Ridge, well, certainly looking like he might have a move in mind. I've got to say though, all this fighting for 2nd place, Mellish, has really allowed Tactical to get away. You can see that gap beyond the yellow Audi of Merckx, and it's there's 5 or 6 car lengths there now, and that's looking almost unassailable for the final 2 laps.
Yeah, it just changes that. Look at that massive dive bomb from Spearman on Matt Gaming. Williams Roder is looking for a way through. It's an absolute gaggle of Hondas and Audis at the moment, just coming towards the 10th place, the mid-pack of this Lobby A. And it looks like Jacob Bokit has lost out once again. Woman 7 made his way through into 6th place, and it's really down to Roadrunner to see what he can do, because He needs to make positions and really close that gap on Bokeh. No avail at the moment.
Cammy there, just getting into the side of Sean, who was round his outside at the final corner. Yeah, no poops given there by Cammy, who just took the nose off him. These cars are threatening each other though, down into Andretti, and Turbo's going to make up 2 positions. You're going to lose them just as easily though. That battle looks pretty rough in the fight for 10th position. No holds barred, and Turbo's on the outside. Big old slide, touch on the gravel, and a whole load of positions lost. Unbelievable.
Just want to say, he didn't just lose 2, he lost 5.
5 positions.
You really are. You just like your commentator's curse is the worst I've ever known. It really is.
I mean, I saw him up the inside there at turn 1. I was thinking that's gonna annoy just about everybody in that pack. And turn 2's coming up very quickly. Yeah, he got that sideways and slipped back a few positions there. He'll be back. He'll be fighting a little bit longer, but Turbo there, yeah, maybe hoping that he'd wished he'd held it in a little bit closer at turn 1. We're going to jump back on board here, though, with the fight for 2nd position. On board with Aerox Ridge. We've waxed lyrical about what an incredible race Ridge has had so far here. Race number 3 of this round of the Apex Online Racing Touring Car Championship. And Ridge has had such a great performance in the first 2 races. A little bit too good for his own comfort, because in the reverse grid race, he was way at the back of the field. Somehow, though, he's fought his way forward, fought his way up this pack, and now he's staring at the rear of PMC, Alie, and AMS Mercs. And this has got to be the move as Alie goes wide. He's going to choose the inside line, takes one, pushes on the 2nd, and Mercs now on the outside of him. The run down towards the 3rd turn. Mercs with enough speed in the old AS3 to get ahead of the RS3 of Ridge. That was a beautiful little move, though, from Ridge. He was very, very planned, knew what was going to happen, and picked his line nicely.
Yeah, Alie really put himself in a vulnerable position there, trying to make a move on the outside. It's not worth it there. Follow through, single file through turns 3, and if you can get the run out of turn 4, but making a move around the outside of turn 3 is just going to see you in the sand trap. Mercs there, taking the racing line, gave no room for Alie. Alie maybe reading from that. He's only got a lap and a bit to go. Tactical looking strong to take the win in race number 3. I think it'll do him wonders for Remus Racing if he can keep that 1st place. Mercs, is he going to hold on for 2nd? And I think that's about we're going to stay on board with Alie.
Yeah, absolutely right. These two are out like cats and dogs right now, and there's 1 lap remaining. We're going to stick around here with these two just for the start of this lap at very least, as Mercs gets 1 tyre fire on the way out the last corner. For my money, though, that S3 has got a little bit more on the top end than the newer RS3.
It's old gen versus new gen. I absolutely love it. I wish we had more of this. It's great. That Audi, the old Audi, has the... You're right, Alie. It does have the bit of top end where the Audi RS3 has got a bit more handling. So, yeah, Ridge constantly on his back bumper throughout the entire circuit, but you get towards that last corner, you get a good run from Mercs, you ain't stopping it. And I think that's what he's just got to rely on that. Hold the racing line. Mercs is just going to hold the racing line, make sure he goes defensive, mid-track, slow Mercs, even slow Ridge right down into the path of Alie if he wants to. But as long as he's leading the race, going into the last corner, Mercs has got it.
Well, we've hardly talked about him all race, and I think it's time to jump on board with the race leader. That's Tactical HD1. He's had an amazing season. We've talked a lot about him in previous rounds, about how coming into the AOR TCC, Tacticals look like a new driver, somebody a lot more aggressive, really wanting those race wins, and has the equipment, I think, underneath him now to deliver those. And finally, after... however many attempts, 9 attempts, I guess, in the previous rounds, 2 attempts today. Tactical looking like he's going to take a race win at the AOR TCC. Brilliant to see.
Big dive bomb.
Dive bomb there from Ridge on the final corner. But Tactical crosses the line, takes the win in race number 3. It's a run to the line for Mercs and Ridge. Mercs is going to take 2nd, Ridge in 3rd. Those two dragged it out from the last corner. A last corner dive bomb, as you say, Malish, for Ridge. But Tactical takes the win, and that's a great and important performance for Tactical.
That was huge as well. I mean, obviously, like you say, Jota Commando, his teammate in the Remus Racing team, not here tonight. Absolutely not here tonight. So it's all down to Tactical to gain as many points as he can. Great job from Tactical there. What a performance from Merckx. I think it's the best we've seen Merckx so far. Ridge, great job to make his way from the back of the pack there. Probably one of the only successful drivers in that Titan battle that we've seen between the Williams Esports drivers and the Aerox Motorsport. PMC Alie just lucking out there, just being squeezed out of the podium positions. He'll finish in 4th. Great solid drive from Spectre. Williams 7, into 6th. Bokit 7th. Roadrunner 8th. Spearman 9th. And Cammy down in 10th. Vane couldn't make it work either. He finished in 11th. Turbo 12th. Sean 13th. Renault 14th. Matt Gaming, again, he needs to work on something because he's down in 15th. And Williams Mitch, after that big disastrous incident going into turn 2, sees him in 16th.
Well, what a race. What a series of races we've had here from Laguna Seca. It's a great track and one which is always fun to come to, fun to race at. I always like to think that it's a little bit of a driver's track. It's one where it's actually harder to sort of see the difference in the cars and a little bit easier to see the difference in the drivers. But, well, I mean, it's how it goes, I guess, that this time around it looked a little bit like it was the RS3 and the Civics kind of a place. But Tactical managed to sneak something in there in the Cruise, and good for him, because that car looked like it was a little bit too heavy and a little bit too large for the intricacies of Laguna Seca.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Laguna Seca is one of the most beautiful tracks in this circuit. I mean, we've had Mugello, we've had Bugatti, we've had Brands. Next week, we're going to Hockenheim. Hockenheim full circuit. This isn't the club. This is the big straight. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be an even bigger track. We're only going to be doing 8 laps next week. It's a 2.84 mile track, and it's going to be whoever's got that top speed. I think we're going to see an even better performance from Merckx because he knows that old Audi is going to have a better top end than the Honda Civic, and there's loads of room at Hockenheim to make those overtakes stick.
Well, that's awesome to hear, and well, that just about rounds us out here from Laguna Seca. It's been a pleasure to have you along with us. It's been a great event here. Like I mentioned earlier on this broadcast, me and Mellish may not be around for the next 2 rounds of this, but of course the coverage will continue. You'll get some new different people to come and chat to you about the racing, but do continue to tune in. We'll be back towards the end of the championship. I think in rounds 7 and 8 we'll be returning. For now, though, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you want to find out more about the championship, sign up, all that good stuff, head on over to apexonlineracing.com. Catch you next time on track.